Why am I tiny? Happy Monday, degenerates. How are we doing today? Someone's messing with my settings, and I say someone, I'm the only one here. What the heck was that? Welcome to the Die Hard MMA podcast. If you are an audio listener, you're missing out on when I mess up on video. It's a whole lot funnier. Come on over to YouTube. How's everybody doing in the chat today? Oh, we have got UFC Des Moines to talk about this week. And yes, it's spelled Des Moines, but it's pronounced Des Moines, I believe. I think. I'm probably wrong, but that's what we're talking about. We're coming off of, oh my Lord, just a brutal night at UFC. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. I really don't. So as you all know, I've been struggling, and UFC Kansas City was no different, but it's worse than you think. Let me just, first off, let's welcome in the chat, right? What's going on, everybody? We got Grateful Dude in the house. We got Dream. What is up? Ethan, Hershey. I will get to your question there, my friend. We've got Dan, my guy from Half the Battle. What's going on, bud? Glenn Bot in the chat. Cameron Junkin. We've got Dimmagur Burger V7898. What's going on? Iceland Farts. K Deep Montana Salt. Dirt in the house. What is going on, everybody? Okay. I've got to get to this, guys. So real quick, short, snappy recap for last week, right? I took an L. My entire night came down to one Michael Pereira, right? And it's really funny because I was planning on going full sniper mode. I mean, like one shot, one kill. The only bet I was going to make on the entire card was Michael Pereira. I made a couple of stupid little plays, and I made a two-leg parlay. They canceled each other out. So my night literally didn't change with the other action that I ended up adding beyond Michael Pereira. So it ended up being about the same thing. Michael wins, I win. Michael loses, I lose. Did he throw the fight? I mean, legitimately. I'm not that guy. You guys know I like to give the fighters the benefit of the doubt. You guys know I'm not the one who's turning over rocks looking for the scumbag. I think he threw that fight. You watch him walk out and his dance routine, he's dead serious. There's no smile. There's no energy. There's no fun. It wasn't even a dance routine. Like, people wouldn't get away with that shit on TikTok. They'd be booed off the app. There was no dancing. He did this with his hands and steps. It wasn't even a dance. You can't say the guy got gassed walking up to the cage because of that. And then halfway through round 2, his corner is yelling at him, stick to the plan, stick to the game plan. And it's like, what was the game plan? Throw no punches? I mean, I understand if the concept is Abus Magomedov has a questionable gas tank. Yes, that's part of why we bet on him. And you're thinking, drag him deep and then pull the trigger and rough him up once you get in those later rounds. But he never got to the point that he pulled the trigger. And the reason I bet the submission prop was because we knew Abus would shoot lazy, tired, exhausted takedowns. And Michael Pereira had a neck like 3 times. Never even sniffed it. Never even attempted to threaten with a front choke or anything. That fight was still fully in play in round 3. He could have finished Abus. Abus got tired from walking around punching a heavy bag for 10 minutes, and Michael Pereira still did nothing. Either somebody in his family died and he found out right before the fight, which, God forbid, I'm not wishing that on anybody. I hope that's not the case. And he was just completely emotionally disconnected, or he threw that fight. It was one of those 2 options, because that performance made no sense. And I'm pissed off about it because I thought I was going to look like a genius playing it smart, keeping it small. And this is the part where it's worse than you guys could have ever imagined, because I'd have been right on everything else. I'd have been right on absolutely everything else. I have been circling Malcolm Wellmaker to put a bet on him. He's even money against Cameron Simon. Did I pull the trigger? No. No, I did not. I told you it was Amarim by sub over Polyana Viana. Yes, I took the sprinkle live on Polyana Viana when that fight started round 2, but I could have done something with the submission prop. Did I? No. I said it was Chris Gutierrez by decision at even money. Did I bet that? No. I said it was Evan Elder. Did I bet him? No. Did I bet Matt Schnell when everyone and their mother was convinced that Jimmy freaking Flick, who's got no chin and no cardio, was the guy to take in that fight? Did I buy low when the price dipped? Which, by the way, if you bet Jimmy Flick, you were on the wrong side. You were on the right side, gambling speaking. But still, Matt Schnell got his hand raised. I looked at that fight live. He was plus 160 after round 1, and I was hovering my finger. Did I bet it? No. And then I'm the only asshole who had Randy Brown in a parlay instead of taking him inside the distance. Everybody else and their mother is cashing plus 300s on Randy Brown inside the distance. And I'm sitting here going, bro, nobody finishes Nicholas Dalby. So even though I got it right, I still made less money than everybody else. Ikram by knockout, minus 160. I hate laying chalk on props. I was going to, but I told myself I was going to keep it tight, and I was only going to bet on Michel Pereira because he was the best bet on the board. So did I make an easy cash on a minus 160 knockout that happened in round 1? No! And David Onama, he was supposed to be a parlay piece. He was easy money. I didn't play him. Yes, it was a good fight. Yes, it was scary, but he still got his hand raised. Ming Yang Zhang, round 1, everybody could have touched on that. But the big one, you guys, the big one. I've been trying to fade Carlos Prates since he made it to the UFC. I have been backing unpopular cuck Ian Machado Gary since he made it to the UFC. He opened at minus 110, and I looked at that and went, this is my spot. And I let it sail right on past me because I was so focused on Michel Pereira. So is all of this my fault? Yes, it is. But I'm angry at Michel Pereira because I'd feel a whole lot better about it if I was coming off a win instead of another L because he didn't show up. I could have practically swept this damn card. Instead, I've got my pockets turned out and I'm angry. We got money to make this week, but I'm going to need some help. So after all that, welcome into one of your favorite guests of all time, Everest, my guy, Liam Picks Fights. Liam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, Clint. I got to say, you know, I kind of felt the same way as you did about that last card. I got the best of every line that I took on the card, right? Like I beat every line by like $2, $1 on the flick line, lost every bet. So unfortunate run out, but I believe in making good bets over time. And honestly, if you could beat the line by $2 on every bet that you place, you'll do well over time. But I'll tell you this, man, it doesn't feel good when you get that CLV trophy and nothing to show for it. So right back to work this week, and let's see if we can get some good plays for the people.
That is the game, my man. You know the deal, and I completely agree with you that if you're placing those kind of bets and you're beating those kind of line moves, it will pay off in the long run. Oh, but man, it just bites when you look back. And I mean, I don't, usually do 5, 6, 7 leg parlays, stuff like that. I could have this week. Like I could be sleeping on a pile of money tonight, Liam, and I'm not. And it makes me just furious that the 1 week I try to exercise some self-control, it costs me. And it's like, son of very irritated, but I digress. Shout out to Gambles MMA. Did an all favorites parlay and Michel Pereira sold. Oh my God, that is pain right there, my guy. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you so much for the donation. I apologize for the loss of that parlay because that is absolutely brutal. Shout out to my guy Louis Mack, though, that says he did go ahead and make some money. Happy to hear that. But guys, we've got a new card to get into. I've already ranted myself into a hole here, and I've got Liam sitting here ready to go, ready to talk some fights. Hopefully we can bring you some info where you can make some money this week. Hopefully last week's info helped you because everybody else made money. I just didn't. So let's get into it. First fight of the night. We're starting off with women's MMA yet again, which seems to be like a thing right now, Liam. Like they're kicking off so many of these fights with these low-level women in MMA fights. And I got to tell you, I'm not complaining because a lot of them have been finishing lately. So I can't even be mad about it. They've been entertaining at least. Juliana Miller returns taking on Ivana Petrović. And Liam, there's one thing that I've got to say about Juliana Killer Miller. 3-3 in the UFC overall. She's coming off of essentially a 2-year-long layoff. She won the Ultimate Fighter. And if it weren't for that Ultimate Fighter victory, she would be 0-2 in the UFC. And frankly, man, I've just never thought she was all that good. I bet against her, got a nice big score with my girl Veronica Hardy. I think she was like plus 300 that night. That was back before people appreciated Veronica Macedo for what she could be. And felt real good to go ahead and hit that one. In her next fight, though, Juliana Miller comes back and she takes on one of my least favorite fighters on the entire roster in Luana Santos. And she looked just wrong. Oh, you know what? I apologize. Maybe I'm mixing up my Luana Santos here with somebody else. I am thinking of the chick that took the up kick. My apologies. Never mind. I don't have beef.
Luana Pinheiro.
Pinheiro. Thank you, Liam. I don't have beef with Luana Santos. It's the wrong Luana. Anyway, she came back and she looked dead, Liam. Like, I mean, she looked like she had her zombie Halloween makeup on. She's in the cage with her eyes sunken in. They're dark black, rings around. And this is not weigh-in day. This is fight night. Like they're in the cage and she looks pasty pale with her eyes sunken out. Her face, it really looked like she was ill that night. There was a problem. So she goes in there and gives it her best college try. Doesn't matter. Ends up getting TKO'd. And now she's taken 2 years off. So I got to wonder what we're getting from Juliana Miller after this kind of a length of time. I got to wonder what we're going to see in the cage because it could be something drastically different from what we saw before. The thing that I do remember about Juliana Miller is she is a finisher, all right? She does accept bottom position a little more often than I'd like sometimes, but she's nasty dangerous from her back with triangles and arm bars. She's a 10th planet jiu-jitsu girl. She's real long and sneaky with some of those submission attacks. 32% striking defense, though, is a problem. She kind of leads face first and then just wings punches. She's got that classic long, lanky women's MMA thing where they're not fast enough to get their guard back. So if they overextend on a strike, they're just there to be hit by whoever wants to go ahead and counter. So the physicality backfires in some instances with these tall, long chicks. So I'm very curious what we're going to see from her here in this fight because it's been a long, long time. And based on the interview I heard from her, she sounds very motivated. I'm not hearing OnlyFans vibes, right? Like she seems like she wants to come back and compete, not like she's trying to build a platform. Her opponent on the other side of this thing, Ivana Petrović, 7-2, 30 years old. I like the way this girl scrambles. You know, she's very, very dangerous. Also on the ground, she's got very good offensive grappling. She's got good top position. She showed that against Jamie Lynn Horth, who is a very physical, strong woman. She was able to get on top of her a couple of different times. Petrović also has a willingness to kind of accept bottom position from her back. So it'll be interesting to see if they get grappling, who is going to end up on top and who is going to end up on bottom here in this fight. But man, that Horth fight scared the crap out of me for this girl because she gave up really bad positions multiple times. And Horth kind of lost position more than Ivana did the right thing in a couple of instances. She was deep in an armbar for a large portion of round 2 of that fight. And that's Juliana Miller's best weapon. Ivana will be 1 inch taller with a 4-inch reach advantage. And I feel like that's backwards. Did I type the wrong fighter with the statistical advantages there, guys? Let me check.
Petrović is bigger.
Okay, all right. That seems odd because usually Miller is the one who's taller. I was second guessing myself here for a second on that one, but yeah. So man, I mean, I get Ivana being the favorite. Long layoff for Juliana. I was never all that sold on her to begin with, so I'll kind of agree with that. I think fight ends by sub is something that would be interesting. Pick your poison. You know, which fighter you think's going to win. Their submission prop is going to be probably okay here in this spot, but I don't trust Ivana giving up the positions that she did, and fighters coming off this kind of a long layoff, especially with the health concerns and worst case scenario we saw from Juliana last time, she might be better than what we're seeing on tape. That's not saying much, but it's totally possible. I will say Ivana wins this fight. I will say she probably wins it by sub, but this is not one I've got a whole lot of interest in. Liam, what are you doing here?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. Looking at my notes for this fight, I was just blown away by how bad Juliana Miller's striking stats are, like really stand out bad, some of the worst you'll ever see in the UFC. So when you're looking at what could her upside be in this fight, it's the fact that she'll pursue takedowns, averaging 1.8 per 15 minutes, averaging 1.8 sub attempts per 15 minutes as well. To your point, on top, on bottom, she's going to be going for offense. The one thing I will say about Ivana Petrović is I'm just not sold on Ivana Petrović yet, in terms of how quality she really is against Luana Carolina, albeit a woman with a winning record in the UFC. She's getting in a lot of really bad positions, needed a couple advantageous scrambles to even keep that fight competitive, because otherwise she spent a lot of time in negative positions. Then you look at Juliana Miller, to your point, I thought that one fight was not a great look against Luana Santos. She's 3-1 in the UFC. She's a quality enough fighter herself. Then you look at Veronica Macedo, puts together a pretty shitty record in the UFC, goes away for a while, comes back. Now she's 3-1 since returning. I think you could look at that 4-5 record and deceive yourself into thinking maybe she's not that good. So when I look at both these women, like when either of them has fought somebody of substance, they've lost, right? And when they haven't, they've looked okay. Now, like, what does that win tell me? It's a woman that can't win fights in the UFC. So I think that I look at these two women as a little bit in a prove it spot. The problem is that we've got Juliana Miller off a long layoff. She's coming back. She did some grappling matches since she's been back. I want to find out, like during fight week interviews, the nature of her injury. It looked like it was a shoulder injury to me. I went back and looked through her Instagram. She's got braces on. She took some time off the mat, but she's in the game, right? She's going to her teammates' fight. She's around. She's in the training room. It looks like she's still taking it quite seriously. So if that's the case, I think she can compete. If this is a pure grappling match, like by the way, just like on grappling results, she's won some important matches in her career, like as a grappler. So if they just go out there and grapple for 15 minutes, I think she competes here, closer than the line entails. But if they strike, I think she's going to get lit on fire. She's just not a good striker, doesn't have good techniques, not very fast. So I think especially if you have a shoulder injury, an already slow, stiff striker is probably not going to be much better coming off a shoulder surgery. But if she's good enough to go back and do grappling matches and grit out wins there, then I think that she could still, compete at least. And she's fighting for her job in all likelihood, right? Like, doesn't have a very good record, but she's a finisher. She goes out there and competes hard. She'll get finished sometimes on the return. It's like, hey, we can make a highlight out of this one way or the other. I don't think that Petrović is like lights out. I think she's a decent enough fighter, has some skills, probably a better baseline athlete, more experience. I think that plays to her favor. The size you mentioned, those are things that play to her favor. But do I trust her in scrambles based on what I've seen in her last, 3 fights? No, I don't. So that's the way I see it, man. Like, she has some idea of what to do right offensively, but defensively, huge mistakes, massive vulnerabilities. And I think she could end up in some deep submissions here.
Okay, I like it, Liam. And our Lord and Savior Elon Musk, he giveth and he taketh with the algorithm on Twitter. As we are talking about this, a article popped up here. Shout out Alex Buhinen. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but if you guys are on Twitter, you know Alex. He's a great follow. He does stuff for MMA Mania, but he actually just posted this up that apparently she had not 1, not 2, but 3 surgeries that kept her sidelined this entire time. And apparently her grandma died. So she's been dealing with inside and outside of the cage types of situations. And something I've talked about before, you guys have maybe heard me mention this. Pain does things to people and different people handle it differently. So when you're coming
Damon
into
Jackson
the cage,
punted Pat Sabatini's head into the 3rd row, right?
Exactly my point. And then who was it? Was it Mark Madsen that came in after the passing?
That sound, I do think there's something to that, but I can't remember the story enough to say definitively.
It was one of the bald-headed white grappler dudes. Like, that's it. I think it was Marco Madsen, but if it wasn't him, it was the other short bald guy. But someone came in a similar situation, Liam, and collapsed on themselves in round one. Like, we've seen Anthony Smith come in there and look for people to punch him in the face instead of fighting. Like, Payne does weird things. Thank you. Yes, COD, Mike Grundy. It was Grundy that came into that fight, and he came in with a heavy heart. And shout out, Dave, get you up there. So what's happening in this spot, guys, it's very individualized, right? Like, especially when we're talking about gambling, it is a dual-edged sword, because some of these people come in and they have second life. They release all that fear, all that anger, and they put it on whoever is trapped in that cage with them. And I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me. But other people get in there and can't perform without their inner circle. They get in there and a piece of themselves is missing, and they fight at not quite their optimal level because they're missing something. So you don't know what you're getting when people come in a state of pain like this. So that's something very, very interesting to listen to. And you guys can make a decision for yourselves if you want to trust someone, in this case, Juliana Miller, whether you think that's going to uplift her or drag her down coming into this fight.
Now, Clint, I want to just give you one thing before we move on from this fight, which is I agree with you on the fight not to go the distance as like something I'm looking at in theory. Unfortunately, it was plus 340 last week on the Jocelyn Edwards and Chandler fight, and I did take that, but I couldn't get enough down that I tracked it. So I took that at like plus 340. It was an outlier number on Fanatics. Love that, right? Great way to start a card off. But when I just look at this fight, like we've seen one girl literally has zero striking defense. I don't think Petrović is like a wizard striking defensively either. If she ends up in bottom, she might take a lot of ground and pound. And the other thing is, it's like Brogan Walker, is she like a level below Petrović? Frankly, I don't know. Like they're both women that I don't really think are like of that ilk. So let's find out. I mean, I think she's a better athlete. And if Juliana Miller doesn't want to be there to fight, maybe she checks out in round one, it takes the money and goes home. So for me, I think that's an interesting way to maybe pivot off. If it's 3 shoulder surgeries, Steve, all right, maybe we take our hands back from that side and then click at a similar number, the fight not to go.
Now, I got to go back and read the article, Liam. It's 3 surgeries. I'm not sure how many of them involved the shoulder. So just for clarification.
At least one. I'll tell you.
At least one was shoulder. Exactly. At least one. Oh, boy. Shout out Big Dog in the house, my guy, Lucrative MMA. James, one of our favorite guests here on the pod, dropping a donation. Thank you very much, my friend, for the dono. Very much appreciated. Thanks for the content. Shout out everybody, and let's cash this week. James doing some big stuff. I saw some of those things you were putting up on Twitter, James. He's having himself a run right now, which you love to see. So shout out to you, buddy. Happy you're here, and thank you very much for joining the show here for a minute. All right, guys. Second fight of the night. Happy Don'Tale Mayes fight week. And you know, Liam, what that means is nothing but trauma and pain for your boy, because I have the longest, most scathing history with Don'Tale Mayes of all time. The last time he fought, I swore hands off, right? Because I got out, Liam. I got out clean. When he fought Kyle Machado, I said one last ride when he was even money, because this man is always even or plus money to people he should never be even or plus money to. Don'Tale Mayes has the physical tools. He's got the skills to be at least mid or upper mid in the UFC heavyweight division. He can do everything well. He can wrestle decently. He can strike decently. He's got solid enough power. He's able to knock people out if he wants to. The problem is the IQ never caught up to anything else, and it's been holding him back his entire career, Liam. He makes the worst possible decisions, and even when he's got a perfect matchup, he never chooses the path of least resistance. He always takes the path of most difficult resistance, and he ends up losing a lot of these fights because of it. So you always are tempted to bet Don'Tale Mayes, and I lost a lot of money betting on Don'Tale Mayes. So I said, Kaio, This is it. I'm planting my flag. He's winning this one, and I got it back, Liam. I got it back. I had my butthole puckered the entire night because it went, of course, it went the full 15. He couldn't find a finish for me to make my night easy, so we go the full 15 minutes. I'm sweating bullets. We got it done. And I said, never again. So he takes on Shamil Gadzhiev and Walter Walker in back-to-back fights. He gets the L because, of course, against any type of decent fighter, he's not going to do very well. Here he's taking on Thomas Petersen. Thomas is 9-3. He's 30 years old. And I think Dontel may have met his match when it comes to fight IQ, Liam. This guy does nothing but block punches with his face. If any of you grew up watching Never Back Down like I did, the quote from the coach where he says, excellent use of your chin to block his knees. Like that's this guy. He does not know how to set up his takedowns. He's a good wrestler, but he can't close the distance. So he just walks forward. I mean, Muhammad Usman almost knocked this guy's head off. He's got a loss to Jamal Pogues, which is a mortal sin in my opinion. And it finally caught up with him, Liam, when he fought Shamil Gadzhiev, because you cannot tank the damage that Shamil will throw at you simply by walking forward into those giant meat hooks that he calls fists. So this is a fight where it's going to come down to who's got the better game plan and who can stick to it. And for my money, neither of them are capable of it. Dontel Mayes has a ridiculous height and reach advantage coming into this fight. He is, by the numbers, 5 inches taller with a 7-inch reach advantage. Is that accurate? Because you guys, he's going to look like a freak in there compared to Thomas Petersen. Liam, I don't understand. Petersen is a minus 260 favorite. What exactly has he done to be worth minus 260? He is 1-2 off of Dana White's Contender Series. He is a bad fighter who is coming off of a round 1 TKO loss. I know Dontel Mayes sucks. I know Dontel Mayes makes bad fight decisions. I know he essentially alternates wins and losses, and if you're half decent in the UFC, you're gonna beat him. But is Thomas Petersen half decent, Liam? Is Thomas Petersen going to be able to take a man down that has a 5-inch height advantage on him? Will he be able to close the distance walking face first into punches through a 7-inch reach advantage? My God, they're going to make me do it again, aren't they? I am this close, Liam. Plus 210. It's dog or pass. I am never trusting Thomas Choo-Choo Petersen at this price tag, Liam. Can't do it. Talk to me. Talk me off a ledge.
Here, listen. Here's what I can do for you, Clint. What I can't do is sell you on Thomas Petersen minus 2XX. I can't do that, right? When you look at these two guys, you have, one guy who's got a lot of UFC experience in Dontel Mayes. And I'll tell you the truth, Clint. I think Dontel Mayes sucks. I've always thought that this guy sucks. I pick against him every single fight. Sometimes he wins. I pick against him every single time, man. And it's paid off in certain instances where everybody is like, how could you pick Hamdi Abdelwahab to beat this guy? And I'm like, he knows the wrestle, and that's enough, right? If you know the wrestle, it's over for this guy. He goes out there, and Clint, it's my favorite moment in MMA history. Just falls backwards. Like, he did it to himself, right? I've talked about before, Angela Hill, at her worst, used to take herself down. It wasn't the other person, right? Ashley Yoder fell on top of her because Angela pulled her back. It's like some people just can't wrestle instinctually. Dontel Mayes, for whatever reason, was like, I'm against an Olympian, a Greco-Olympian. I'm going to step behind and go for a throw. And he literally flat-backed himself in the middle of the octagon. So when you talk about fight IQ, he's done some of the worst. And I'm telling you, the other thing is, I picked Caio Machado split decision, and you were right. So the faith paid off, right? There's been times he comes through. He's fought some decent guys, but that last time against Walter Walker, I felt so vindicated, dude. I was like, Walter Walker is going to submit this guy because I was like, he's going to get him down. I just thought it would take time. The fact that it happened so quick and so easy, I was like, that's a problem, right? Because that to me kind of showed maybe he's not about this life anymore, right? It used to take Cyril Gane 3 rounds, right? And then, by the way, he tapped to nothing in the 3rd round. There, like a straight ankle lock that's not finishing a blue belt at Enzo Gracie Warwick. No disrespect, but it's just the kind of thing where he was like, I'm tired. He's pulling on my ankle. I'm not going to win this one anyway. Get me out of here. And that's the kind of thing that I do have my real skepticism about this guy on the mat. Now, Thomas Petersen, if this fight stays on the feet, you already laid it out, right? He's coming off a knockout like in February. Like, kind of coming back a little too soon for me. I don't love that.
Agree.
But if he gets him to the ground against Chandler Cole, the submission was like 11-1. I don't know what it is this week. It'll open on domestics probably in a day or two. I'm going to be keeping an eye out. I cashed that against Chandler Cole at 11-1. And it's just because I know this guy, if he's on top of you, will try and land a couple ground and pound shots, look for a key lock. And I just do not trust Don'Tale Mayes to get put in a key lock and work his way out step by step. Or so. If he gets in it, he's going to go, thanks for the memories, guys. See you later. If he doesn't, he's probably going to win the fight. But it just feels to me like that's how I would want to get involved. I've been there before with my guy, Thomas Petersen. I actually thought he was going to compete against Shamil. He's doing all right. I think he even landed more shots, but he just couldn't take the same shots, right? He can't land something with real impact. So for me, if Don'Tale shows up, keeps him at the end of a jab, he could look like a hindsight favorite in this fight. That's why he can't click Thomas Petersen, big chalk. However, his losses are quality, in my view. Like Jamal Pogues, kind of an awkward guy to beat. He's a former light heavyweight. He's got that different ability to move, scramble, kind of push people away. So if you can't get in on his hips, guys can outstrike him. They can make him look bad on the feet sometimes. But it's not that easy to out-wrestle Jamal Pogues because he's a former light heavyweight. Then you look at, okay, Shamil Gaziev. He's a difficult guy to beat in the first couple rounds. You're going to have to get him tired. You're going to have to wear on him, right? When he's fresh, he's kind of dealing with everybody a little bit. So then I say to myself, okay, Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's 6-1 in the UFC. Like the guy's like 1 or 2 big wins away from like being in heavyweight contender conversation. He's not the most exciting guy, right? He's not blowing everybody's hair back with every performance, but that's the guy. Like he just still doesn't lose fights now that he's in the UFC. He wins every fight. So it's like, is Thomas Petersen bad? Or did he fight some hard fights, some fights that are development fights that will hopefully get him in the right direction? He seems like a guy who's open to learning, right? Right after he loses to Pogues, he's like, hey, brother, you beat my ass. Can you please teach me more about MMA? He's like, sure, I'll teach you more. So I think he's a guy that's open to growing. He's getting back in there. He's staying active. I just don't love how quick it is off a knockout loss. So for me, Petersen by sub is kind of the sneaky angle I'll be looking at this week. And I didn't play for Walter Walker. It was like 11-1. And I think it might even be bigger because Petersen's not a submission ace, right? He's kind of Johnny new jiu-jitsu on the scene. But if a heavyweight is on top of another heavyweight and they don't want to be there anymore, and I grab a hold of some, it's all over. So I just feel like he has the idea what he's going to pursue when he gets on top. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Okay.
Dude, that heel hook from Walter Walker, he knew what he was doing when he was in the back, right? He's like, I'm jumping on this guy's leg and he's going to give it to me. And he did. And that's the one thing where I'm like, if Thomas Petersen could get this key lock, it's over.
Fair enough. And honestly, you might be onto something with Don'Tale Mayes just not being as interested these days, Liam. I was just doing some stalking before the show and looking at his Instagram and stuff, and there's not a whole lot of action being posted
John
on that
Jones is ducking
timeline
right now. He's like, where is our camp? Come on. Like, we got to get in there. John's like,
how funny.
Busy this weekend.
We look into that stuff so hard. Like some of these guys just disappear off of social media and it means absolutely nothing. But especially when you've got someone who used to be active on social media, who just posts less and less and less. It's like, that's kind of a sign that it's like there's less training going on. There's less fire. They're not looking to boost their numbers. Like you very much can see someone trailing off online. And with the way his career has been going, you can see it trailing off that way as well. I might have to just sprinkle Don'Tale Mayes in round 3, Liam, because he's facing what could be potentially a walking punching bag. If he has any training camp whatsoever and just sticks this guy in the face for a couple of rounds, he might be able to eventually light this guy up. But it's dog or pass. It's very unfortunate because I'm considering it, but I can't promise I'm going to bet this one, you guys. I tried to be real smart last week. It backfired. I think I'm going to keep the same attitude this week because I would have almost swept the card last week. I'm not going to spray this entire card this week expecting to do as well on the predictions. I'm going to keep it high and tight for this one, but dog or pass for this gambler. Let's see what that sub prop comes out at later on this week, because I will be interested to see that as well. Shout out. We got some all-time superstars in the chat today, man. Shout out Hedge Fund MMA with the $50 donation. Sharpest chat ever. Been crushing lately. It's gonna, keep it going, fellas. Cheers. Thank you very much, Hedge Funds. Really appreciate you. Appreciate the donation. And always shout out to the best chat ever. And Liam, I know that's your thing. Sharpest chat in the game is Liam's chat, and I will respect that. But we've got some really heavy hitters all showing out here tonight.
Dude,
well, I always say
today, what can I say? What can I say? Everybody here, heavy hitters in the building.
And there's Pepe Silva. We got Glenn Bot popping in here. Dixon Sider, Gambles MMA, the MMA upside. Everybody, Jonathan Dixon, Milkman, what's going on, buddy? All the usuals are rolling in. Jimmy's teeth, what's going on? Pin D-Gin in the house. Ram Dog, haven't seen that name for a minute. Hey, Petersen sub plus 700 is what he's saying we're looking at. Very, very interesting. The MetaHuman Project.
I need more than 10 to
Energy
1.
TV.
If it's not more than 10 to 1 on domestics, you'll count me out.
Is that Energy TV? As in our guy, CJ? Energy? What's going on, my man? We're big fans of you here on this channel, if that is you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Appreciate you being here, my dude. Bet on you a lot.
Hadley. Feeds families.
There you go. No, bet on my guy a lot. Big fan. All right, let's move it along, you guys. But first and foremost, thank you very much for the support. I am joined tonight by Liam Picks Fights. Make sure you're getting subscribed to him as well. Check him out on social media. Get in there and support this man as well. One of the smartest people I know. One of the best market readers I know. One of my favorite people to talk fights with, and just a good dude. You're not going to get that random notification that he, did something sketch. This is a good guy that you can trust with your time and your respect. Next fight up, we've got Gaston Bolaños, and he's taking on Quang Lee. Liam, I've done a lot of poor things in my recent history when it comes to gambling. I've been on a real tough run here. But one of the things I did do right was I got in on Gaston Bolaños as a dog. He was my Link Memorial Dog of the Week, and he got it done in very impressive fashion, in my opinion, against Cortavius Romeus. I ended up donating that money straight back to the bookie in Cortavius Romeus' next fight, unfortunately. And that's left me with a little bit of a dirty taste in my mouth here on this one, because the win against Cortavius I felt real good about, but I also had a better opinion of Cortavius before his last fight. 32 years old is Gaston Bolaños, 2-1 so far in the UFC. He's a Bellator transplant. This guy had a 6-3 run over in Bellator, and I've said before, Liam, I like this kid. He is fun. He does spinning shit all over the place on the feet. He really likes to strike. He's very explosive. But I don't know that he's UFC level. I don't think he's going to hang around for a long time. He might be a call big mouth type of fighter where he's up and he's down and he's 5-6 and then he eventually drops 2 or 3 and gets cut. I think he's going to be fun for as long as he is here. But even in that Cortavius Romeus fight, he was getting taken down with regularity. He was giving up bad positions constantly. And we've seen now that Cortavius, while he's very opportunistic, he's not a control grappler, and he's not a guy that can stick to a game plan. And it was working pretty well against Gaston Bolaños, getting to his back and attacking submissions and things. Very concerning for the future of Gaston Bolaños, in my opinion. He will be 1 inch taller than Quang Lee, who's 8-2. 33 years old, so a bit old to be considered as like a prospect at this point. He's an LFA veteran, and he's 0-2 in the UFC. He lost to Long Zhao, who's a guy from the Road to UFC, and you guys know my severe burning hatred of Road to UFC fighters. I think the majority of them simply aren't ready for this big show here, and so I actually picked Quang Lee in his last fight, and I feel pretty bad about that because Long Zhao basically battered him and then knocked him out in the 3rd round. He's got, what? I will say something about Quang Lee, though. He's got underrated grappling. Like, this guy came in on short notice against Chris Gutierrez, and he took him down several times. He transitioned well on the mat. He was opportunistic, looking for finishes, and he just wasn't able to keep Chris Gutierrez down. He reminds me of Thomas Petersen, Liam. We were just talking about it. He walks face first into damage. He is defensively void. He's got nothing to stop anything coming his direction, but he's tough. He is strong, and he will be relentless trying to get you to the mat where he's got an advantage. Frankly, from what I saw in Gaston Bolaños' last fight, I think that might be all you need. I'm dog hunting early here, Liam. I actually like Quang Lee as a dog here. He's about plus 125 at this point. You can get minus 150-ish on Gaston Bolaños out there. And I think this is the dog or pass spot. And like you said on Thomas Petersen, I will be looking for the sub prop when it drops here on this fight.
Yeah, Clint, we see this one the same way. I think Gaston Bolaños has crushed cans. And I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. Like, I think Cortavius follows me. I mean this at the UFC level. Like, is he a very good fighter? Yes. Regionally, he's done spinning head kicks, knock people out. But like, the UFC is the cream of the crop, the very best guys. And sometimes you get there a little too young. You get there when you're not ready. Your skills don't develop. Some guys come back at 33. Robbie Lawler had a career, came back, world champion. You see what I'm saying? Like, not everybody's ready at the right time or what. It's a long career, right? So maybe Romeus one day will be that guy, but he's not there yet. And we've seen that, right? We've seen a lot of examples of bad decisions, bad placement, ending up in the wrong spot, doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, not enough cardio for this level. It's like you just start to check some of these boxes, not there. So Gaston Bolaños, I had said in that fight, I thought it was Gaston KO or close decision, or Cortavius sub or close decision. I think we were kind of right on that. And so Gaston was the side, right, at a dog price. But there's still some vulnerabilities there. And I love that, right? I love
Speaking
that.
Of dog.
Exactly. It's a great sign. And when you look at Kang Bang Lee, I thought he was going to compete with Chris Gutierrez. I really did. Went out there, gave it an honest go. Short notice. The Long Xiao fight surprised me a little bit. But here's the other thing. Where is Long Xiao long term? He's 1-1 in the UFC. We have very little data on him. So maybe he is a good fighter. But what we saw is he can throw output. He's a tough kid. He wants to be there. He's very energetic, competitive for the whole 15 minutes. So I think when you look at how this fight plays out, both guys have a path, but one guy's at plus money, right? And I think that Kang Bang Lee, back up against the wall, needs this one really bad. I think he's going to go out there and do everything in his power. And I think he's got power in his hands. I think he's got the ability to submit him if he takes this fight to the ground. And if he can't submit him, I think maybe he could just get 2 rounds of I'm on top, you're on bottom trying to work your way up. So for me, Kang Bang Lee on the regional scene looked like a solid guy, a tough fighter. He's 33 years of age. This is his final product really right now. And Gaston Bolaños did his thing in Bellator. He's lost some fights. He's 0-2 career to the submission. He's not really shown himself to even be levels above his opponents in the striking in the UFC. Watch the fight with Marcus McGee. He got tuned up like an old guitar. So I think that when you look at this guy overall, solid, fun guy, just not a guy that I trust at chalk prices.
I'm right there with you, Liam, and that is going to be your Link Memorial Dog of the Week. My boy Bo barking off this, solidified it for us. This is going to be the one this week, Liam. I did not have a Dog of the Week last week because, frankly, I thought the entire favorites might sweep last week. There were 1 or 2 dogs that I was semi-interested in, but none that I really felt it in my bones were worthy of the Link Memorial moniker, so that's what we're going with this time. We're going to go ahead and say Quang Lee is the Dog of the Week, and I don't have any action locked in to this point, you guys, but that'll be my first bet of the week, is getting this guy in here at plus 125. Real quick, I want to go back to the Meta Human Project says Fade Asian doesn't always work, bro. And let me just be clear. I am not saying fade Asians. I said fade road to UFC. I think that is a low-level entry point to the UFC, and no matter what your race or background is, the guys coming off road to UFC with hype, I think, are a level below. So again, it is not simply Asians. That's not the angle. Let's see here. Pepe saying, Clint, wait until fight day to bet in case Bolaños takes action. I don't know. I'll have to take a look, Pepe. That's potentially a good suggestion, but I have been very vocal about the fact that I'm one of the worst market readers in history. I don't know if it's going up or down. I don't know if people are seeing things my way or if they're seeing things completely differently because I'm such an insane person. So usually when I decide to bet something, I lock it in because I don't have any idea what direction it's headed.
Clint, one thing to just add to this fight before we move off it, Gaston Bolaños has had 3 UFC fights, okay? And in that time, 42% takedown defense rate, giving up at least 1 takedown to every opponent, 8 takedowns total in 3 fights, 14 minutes control time. Not for me at chalk.
Absolutely.
Not great, Chief.
Not great, Chief. Love it, man. All right, let's freaking do it. All right, next fight up, you guys. We've got Marina Rodriguez, and she takes on, Rodriguez. She takes on Gillian Robertson. Yeah, they get me every freaking time, Liam. The H's from Brazil have just ruined me. It's all everybody's a Rodriguez as far as I'm concerned. And actually, she is from Brazil, so she might be Marina Rodriguez. I don't know. We've got women's MMA at its finest here. Marina is falling on hard times, man. She is 1-4 in her last 5. She is getting up there, a little long in the tooth. 38 years old. We do need to mention that her last 2 losses, back-to-back actually, have come by split decision. She's getting into Angela Hill territory here with the run that she's on. She is tall. She is long. She has always had a weakness to the grappling, Liam. That's really been the book on how to beat Marina Rodriguez since she's been in the UFC, is if you can take her down, she will give up moments. She has a hard time getting back up to her feet. She doesn't have good defensive wrestling. It's just always been a path that's been there. She's got nasty power on the feet, though. The step-in knees, her elbows in close. I mean, she's got some of the most fast, accurate hands in this weight class outside of Jessica Andrade. She hurts people, which is rare for women at this weight class. She is 1 inch taller than Gillian Robertson. She will have a 2-inch reach advantage. And interestingly enough, with that big discrepancy with her grappling, she's never been submitted. Now, Gillian, you guys, she needs no introduction around these parts. You guys know Gillian is my girl, okay? And we like to make jokes. We all like to have fun. Yes, I married a redhead. I've got a soft spot for them. That is my type. But I actually am not simply obsessed with Gillian because of that. She actually, back in the day, Liam, when I first got my podcast started, I gave 2 fighters interviews. And Gillian was one of the ones who agreed to come on my show and do a fighter interview because I had delusions of grandeur. I thought I was going to be Ariel Helwani around here, right? Like I thought I was going to be doing the fighter interview thing, and that was the path to the future, not so much the betting. Here we are 6 years later, and I haven't done an interview in 5 years. So we don't do that anymore. But because of that, I have a very, very soft spot in my soul for Gillian Robertson. We've been rooting for her the whole way. And she's got the skills to pay the bills more often than not, man. She takes people down. She is single-minded when it comes to her approach for MMA. She wants to come forward. She wants to drag you to the mat. She wants to get her arms around your throat, and as she calls it, throat cuddle you to death. She wants to submit you. She's the UFC's women's all-time submission leader, unless I'm mistaken at this point in her career. She's setting bars out there, and if she's not the leader, I think she's tied. Like, she might be like 1 fight removed from cashing that record. She is intense on the ground, and something she's been doing lately is working on her ground and pound. She is looking for TKO finishes. She is now violent on the mat instead of simply looking for arm triangles. And, you know, it used to be that when Gillian mounted you, you could tuck your arms in like this, and there wasn't a damn thing she could do about it because she would try to find a way to your back. She would try to find a way to get you to give up one of those arms so she could sink something in. She had no other answers. Now she elbows you to Hades, Liam. In fact, she's not even worried about elbowing your head these days. She'll elbow anything you can give her. She tweeted out hashtag protect your butthole the other day because she put Luana in the hospital by giving her a 12-6 elbow right to the asshole. So, I mean, my girl is she's not at all picky about.
She plays for keeps.
She plays for keeps, and you better watch it. She'll come for anything. I love it. I absolutely love it. The problem, Liam, I don't bet against Gillian often. Like I said, fan of hers, heart is there, and she's got a clear path to victory against a lot of people, especially dropping down a weight class. She's been a bully at this weight class with the size advantage and the strength advantage. It's going a long way because the wrestling was never really there to compete a weight class above with how physical and strong some of those women were. I can never get the Macy Barber fight out of my head, Liam. She could not bully Macy Barber. And as soon as she got touched, she completely crumpled. She's been working on her striking. She's been trying to develop as a mixed martial artist, and it showed. But she still has a massive hole in her game when it comes to her striking and her striking defense. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that she just kind of sat on the outside against, who was it? Tabitha Ricci, where she just couldn't get the grappling going. And so she just stayed on the outside and kind of got pot-shotted to death because she wasn't able to get her grappling going the way she needed to. When she faces higher level competition, she struggles. This is another opportunity for her to prove herself, ready for the deep end of this weight class against a former contender in this weight class, against someone who carries a lot of weight and a lot of respect. But I'll be honest with you, Liam. I think Marina Rodriguez has still got it. You know, her last 2 fights, the splits with Jessica Andrade and Yasmin Lucindu, Jessica Andrade has still got it. If she's showing up training, right? When she's not just showing up for a paycheck, she can still get out there and bang with the best of them. And Yasmin is the hottest prospect in the weight class. And she arguably lost the fight with Marina Rodriguez. She relied on body lock, trip, takedowns in that fight, Liam. And I was watching it extremely carefully. She got a takedown in round 1 and it was good. But in round 2, Marina had it figured out. Marina had the space, the timing, the distance. And Yasmin, it took her until 2 minutes and 23 seconds into the second round to actually be able to get her next takedown. So over a half of the round was spent striking to set up that takedown. And it wasn't until she had an opportunistic moment to duck under a strike, to grab the body lock, and then hit that trip to get Marina down that she was able to work on the mat again. Gillian doesn't have 2 minutes worth of striking. That's the issue for me. If Gillian is stuck for 2.5 minutes at striking distance, I'm not sure she's getting that takedown. Liam, I'm the biggest Gillian Robertson fan and supporter on planet Earth. I think Marina's going to knock her the fuck out on Saturday.
I think it's possible, but I'll tell you the truth, Clint. There's just some things I can't ignore about the data on this fight, man. And the data says this. In her last 11 fights, Marina Rodriguez has given up at least one takedown in all 11 fights. Every fight since 2021. This girl cannot help but get taken down by anybody she fights. And you know the thing about Gillian Robertson? It's the exact opposite. When you look at Gillian Robertson, she has secured at least one takedown in her last 9 fights. That's every fight since 2021. So essentially, you have one girl, every time out, she gets on top of somebody. And you have another girl, every time out, she ends up in the bottom position. And I think a lot of women make the huge mistake of trying to spend all their energy grappling Marina. And I think that that's a huge mistake. We saw Amanda Lemos just knock her the fuck out on the feet, right? And obviously completely different matchup. But point being is Marina, I think, used to be a little bit faster, a little bit more potent with her offense, a little bit more aggressive even. And I think she's slowed down just enough that some of these women that wouldn't have gotten away with these things are starting to get away with it. And the other thing about Gillian is she's working with Dean Thomas. Dean Thomas, very exclusive in terms of who he works with in MMA, few and far between. Sean Brady, he was I sing the praises of this guy because he wants to be a world champion and he's dedicated his life to this and whatever. That's the kind of people he's trying to work with. And so you could have your skepticism, and I mean broadly, people can have skepticism about Gillian Robertson, but it's I take that seriously. I asked Dean Thomas, name me a prospect that you're interested in when I was at a UFC event, right? I was at UFC Columbus. I saw Dean Thomas. I'm there with my friend. I think this is a normal question to ask a coach. I'm who should we look out for? And he's he got nothing for me, right? If you ever listen to this guy ever talk about fights, the only people he brings up, Sean Brady, Gillian Robertson. He is invested in this girl's career. And you see the developments that she's made over time physically. It looks like a different person, right? She used to show up different body composition. Now she looks like an athlete. Used to be at 125. Macy Barber. You go put Macy Barber out there with Marina Rodriguez today, she knocks her the fuck out. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong about that. I think Macy would walk her down with impunity and beat the shit out of her. Pick her up, throw her down, do it anything she wanted to.
Macy's evolved into a
big girl. Big dude, that's what I'm saying. And she's physical. So Marina, I feel, is not the most physical girl, but she does have these skills and she wants it and she tries hard. I think at her age, where things are going, I don't like the trend line. I think everything's moving the wrong direction. So I'm not a huge late chalk, but again, it's Gillian Robertson, KO, TKO prop. I know this girl's impossible to submit, but Cynthia Calvillo 10-8'd her, right? How many years ago? When you get her to the ground, if you, instead of trying to waste all your energy submitting her, she's very sound defensively, you grab her wrist and hit her as many times as you can, as hard as you can. That's what I would do, right? And by the way, I thought the Michelle Waterson-Gomez fight should have been stopped. I thought it was egregious that they didn't stop that fight. She beat the absolute shit out of her. It was gratuitous violence. And then if she wasn't retiring, they stopped the fight. But she's going out. So they're come on, just let her take the beating, for old time's sake. It's okay, you look at Gillian. She just goes, gets to a good position, and beats you up. It seems like a really easy path to win this fight. So that's the way I see it, man. I think that she's going to get her down. I think she's going to beat her up. But if she doesn't, she's fucked. So interesting fight.
Yeah, man, this one's tough. This one is tough because I just feel like you could be sitting there with your hat out, halfway through round 2 when Gillian figures out, oh, I am stuck at this range and it ain't working. And those are the types of spots I try to stay away from. Those are the types of spots where it's a clear dogger pass for me, because it's like betting on Francis Ngannou when he's outgunned, right? Like he's either winning by knockout or Stipe is laying on top of him for 25 minutes. There is no in between, and that makes it real tough to lay minus 250 in my opinion. So
hey,
for me, it's
just remember
pass.
Francis Ngannou money line. When everybody said it was the KO versus Gane, the money line plus 130 was what came through. Remember that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Be warned. And it's been a while, but Gillian has backpacked before. It has been a strategy she has put into practice. And that's the only reason I'm not saying to bet violence on this fight, Liam, because I think fight ends by KO and fight doesn't go the distance. I think those are totally possible here in this fight, because like you mentioned, she may not have ever been subbed before. She was able to defend against Verna Jandiroba, went to a full 15-minute decision in that spot. We could see a similar thing here with Gillian. Again, my issue is that I'm not sure Gillian can get the same kind of takedowns. I don't think she's as relentless or as physical as Verna is personally. So we'll see. We'll see. You guys know the heart's invested, right? I'll be rooting for Gillian, but if there's any cash going on this fight, it's going to be on the Marina side for me. Next fight up, we've got Azamat Bekoev, and he's taking on Ryan Loder. A couple of names that you guys may not be familiar with, and that's what we're here for, baby. Azamat Bekoev is relatively new to the UFC. He is 1-0 to start his career here, Liam, and he's got a huge, massive round 1 KO win over Zach Reese. One of the larger frauds, in my opinion, in the UFC today is Zach Reese. And unfortunately, secret's out. Too many people know about it now. We're never going to get a good price fading him ever again. The ground and pound from Azamat Bekoev in that fight was filthy. Just absolutely disgusting. I don't think Zach Reese has a chin. And so that may have helped with how violent it looked, but you can't take anything away from Azamat in that spot. He's got big power. He's got good top control. Really, the only issue that we've been able to pinpoint with this guy is his questionable gas tank. He's a little sketchy in the cardio. When this guy gets going deep in these fights, he can struggle. His mouth can hang open a little bit. He's kind of gassed looking. Dylan Budko was able to kind of push him to the limit deep in round 3. I went back and I watched that fight, and even though Dylan Budka is a guy that isn't in the UFC anymore, so he's probably lower level than you'd like him to be as a point of reference for this guy, Azamat was the one pushing the grappling. And that's not really something we've seen a lot from Dylan Budka. Usually he's the one who's trying to push the takedowns. He's the offensive wrestler. Azamat was the one backing him up against the fence and holding him up against the cage. And you could see Dylan Budka straining for dear life, trying to keep it up on the feet. And so, yeah, Azamat was tired in that fight, but he still was the one being offensive. So you got to hope maybe a couple of years, little level up. Some of those vitamins from ATT. Maybe he's doing all right these days. We'll see. I'll be curious if he's patched up that cardio or not coming into this fight. Ryan Loder, 7-1, 33 years old. Another guy who you may not recognize, but he is the Ultimate Fighter winner who beat Rob Zilla to get that title in his UFC debut. He swings wildly at range. He's a primary grappler, and he's almost reckless with the way he dives in for takedown entries, man. Big, strong guy. Looks like he's a decent enough grappler, but in that Rob Zilla fight, he got reversed a couple of times. They were like rolling and scrambling all over with each other. I really don't feel comfortable with Ryan Loder. I don't know what to make of this guy. He could just be somebody who engages in scrambles and he's actually really good, or he could be a guy that is a bit of a bum throwaway and is never going to be much of anything at the UFC level, because we just saw Rob Zilla lost to a UFC debutante, granted a popular one, but one that's about half his size, right? Shout out Torrance Finney. I don't know what to make of Ryan Loder. I don't know if he's any good at this point or not. But one thing I can tell you, I think he's probably got the cardio edge, right? So that's what worries me a little bit in this spot. He will be 2 inches taller than Azamat Bekoev. He will have a 4-inch reach advantage over Azamat Bekoev. And this fight line is interesting because Azamat Bekoev is a minus 340, 380 favorite. You can get plus 300 to come back on Ryan Loder. I feel like this is a Bekoev early, Loder late type of situation. Loder is getting a lot of push from that UFC debut. I don't credit him much with the win, given who the opponent was. Do I think he's the better fighter? Yes, I do. Do I think he wins? Probably so. Would I be shocked if Ryan Loder out cardioed him and then snatched a neck in the second or the third round? No, I wouldn't be shocked at all. So it's favorite or pass for me, but I don't think I'm going to be invested in this fight. Liam, what do you make of this one?
Super strong line move here. Like the market's moved out like $2 on this fight. I think Bekoev might have gotten on like a new, and okay, I'm going to say allegedly, I'm going to say all the things, like, don't sue me. I think he got on a steroid cycle or something, because he did look like a different athlete to me than the guy who was in LFA fighting Dylan Butka when he showed up to his UFC debut. He looked really confident. He looked super aggressive. Maybe Zach Reese brings that out in people, right? Cody Brundage did too. But when you look at it, it's like he's got a lot of MMA experience, man. He's had like 20 plus fights. Not an easy guy to put away. I think he's lost via submission before, so maybe Loder could try and look to exploit that. But it's been a little while, and I look at Bekoev as a guy that maybe Loder can wrestle him. So that's why, for me, that's the money line side, or I'm passing on this one. I'm not laying minus 400 on a guy who's 1-0 in the UFC. Didn't beat somebody I really rate. When Zach Reese fought Cody Brundage, I just took the under 1.5. I was like, somebody will make a bad decision. Like, let's see what happens. And by the way, Reese was in on an armbar and then gets picked up, slammed sideways, right? So I think that when you look at Bekoev,
round one, KO, TKO, or DQ for Cody Brundage feeds families, my guy.
There you go. Especially when he takes the easy way out, cash it at 10-1 and be done against what's his name?
It was 20-1 when he took the easy way out, Liam. Let's go.
There you go. Oh, he was like 6-1 on the money line or something. But in any case, you look at this guy, and I think Bekoev has got a little more experience. I'll also say this: Ryan Loder, it worked out for him against Robert Valentin. Bro, he put himself in terrible positions. He gave up his back. Like, it was a minor miracle that his opponent didn't finish him, right? And then Valentin just ended up flat on his back. He goes on his next fight. He gets controlled for 13.5 minutes by Torres Finney. I'm not saying Torres is a bad fighter. He's all right. But how much grief did Torres Finney get for that performance? It was the same opponent, right? And he controlled him 13 minutes. Like, he easily is picking up this grown man, throwing him any which way but loose. Loder did the same thing. That's why I was pretty sure Torres Finney was going to be able to out-wrestle that dude easily. I look at this fight, I'm like, probably going to be harder to out-wrestle this dude. If you make a bad decision in the grappling, might be more to pay for there, right? As opposed to Valentin, like, goes for a big move, falls over the top, gives it up. I don't think he's going to do that. Like, I think he's going to look for position. He's been in a lot more fights. So for me, I just feel like Bekoev probably wins this one. I think the line move was probably sharp here, but it's where is the point of resistance, right? Like, maybe he was decided at minus 250, but it's minus 400. It's a completely different ballgame now.
Absolutely. Completely agree, man. That's the pick. That's probably the side. We'll see. I don't feel strongly enough about either of these guys. They haven't been in the UFC long enough for my taste to really feel great about getting too involved. But for me, it'll be Bekoev or pass. Next fight up, we are back to the ladies and a couple of throwback names here for you, Liam. Yana Santos takes on Miesha Cupcake Tate. Oh, these two ladies aging like fine wine. We remember them for a long time. They're both still doing the damn thing. Yana Santos, Liam, I made some money on Yana Santos in her last fight at 35 years old. She snapped a 3-fight skid with a win over Chelsea Chandler. And I'll be honest with you, Liam, I felt good. I felt good about that one. A lot of people ran to the bank to bet on Chelsea Chandler that night, kind of the way I did this past weekend. But they thought she was going to be too physical. And Yana Santos came in with a great game plan. She finally got over that baby mama hump where we see that, big dip in women's MMA when they come back from having a child. She was in phenomenal shape coming into this one, and she stuck to a game plan. She basically ran the entire fight. She stuck and she moved. She was quicker than Chelsea Chandler. She stuck a jab in her face. She kicked her to death, and then she ran. And in the third round, it got scary because Chelsea Chandler was coming forward and hitting her with shots that she didn't like in the third round. It was terrifying for someone that had money on Yana Santos going to that decision. And also, it was misleading enough for me to think Chelsea Chandler was decent enough to bet on this past week against Jocelyn Edwards because she went a full 15 minutes coming forward. I thought she was better than she was. Regardless, I think I've got a decent read on Yana Santos. The problem with her at this stage of her career, she's never really patched up the grappling, Liam. That's always been a bit of a problem for her. 42% takedown defense rating. She gives up takedowns a lot. She's not overly capable of finishing anything. Her submission offense isn't particularly potent. She doesn't have filthy power in her hands. Maybe in her younger days, she had a bit more pop in her strikes, but not in the last 5 years has she been able to finish anybody with her, with her fists that's of note. She has been fighting some of the best, right? Ketlen Vieira, Irina Aldana, Holly Holm. So like she's competing, right? The split decision with Carol Rosa, she is competing at a decent enough level. Miesha Tate is coming off a really long break, 38 years old, almost a second retirement. I thought she hung it up again, Liam, if we're being honest. I really did. She took a couple of L's to Ketlen Vieira and Lauren Murphy, came back and got a win over Julia Avila in her last fight, a rear naked choke deep in round 3. But again, that was back in December of 2023. So she's about a year and a half removed from that fight at this point. The one thing I've always been able to trust about Miesha Tate is she will grapple. She will always come in looking for the takedown. She will always come in looking to bully you. She reminds me a lot of Holly Holm at this stage of her career, where she is big, she is strong, she is physical, and she knows where her bread is buttered. She will do exactly what she needs to win the fight. If she's capable of putting that type of game plan on you, she will win. So she's either going to grind her way to a decision or she'll get a submission, but only if she can bully you on the mat. Liam, I think she can bully Yana Santos on the mat. Like that's all this fight comes down to me, is that I think she can bully Yana Santos physically. And as long as she can do that, she wins this fight. Miesha Tate is minus 135 in this spot. And I think that's the side I lean. Yana Santos is the slight underdog at plus 115. She will be the cleaner striker of the two. But I just think Miesha Tate's probably the more dangerous. And I think she's the higher level. It's like Matt Schnell last week where I said, he's fallen, right? He's fallen from grace, but do we really think Jimmy Flick in any world is on his level? Turns out, yeah, he was pretty close. But, at the end of the day,
I was like, yeah, he was literally like 30 seconds away from winning the decision, but I feel you.
But the back class, you know what I mean? The back class matters, where it's like they know how to get across the finish line. They know how to win when that last second play has to be made to get that dub. She's a higher level than Yana will ever see. And it's not like we're seeing a 38-year-old fight a 32-year-old. We're seeing 38 versus 35, 36. So it's not even a huge age gap difference. So yeah, for me, it's Cupcake Tate.
I prefer plus money when I bet on Miesha fights, but sometimes you got to lay it. I took Miesha minus 118 against Marion Renault. I took Ketlen Vieira minus 108 against Miesha Tate. And I took Miesha Tate plus 135 for 1.5 units against Julia Avila when she came back there. So I really like Miesha Tate overall in terms of what she brings to the table. I do think she's a predictable fighter. Like you said, she's going to go out there and try and wrestle and grapple in this fight. And the one thing that stands out to me about Yana Santos that's super glaring, right? You look at Yana Santos and she has 8 wins inside the distance in her career, 5 losses inside the distance. That's really bad for the UFC, right? Like that's just not a very good look for the UFC. And on the other side, Miesha Tate, right? 20-9 as a professional overall. She's got a 12-5 record inside the distance. She's been fighting at the title level. She's been fighting at the title level since she was in Strikeforce. So I think that Yana Santos got the Cyborg lottery, which really turned out poorly for her, where she's like, I'm here. I'm a warm body. I'll do it. And then she's kind of hovered around because of that. But when she fights other girls that are ranked in the top 10, that are solid fighters, typically doesn't work out. And one of the only ones that she was able to get, I believe, was the Ketlen Vieira fight, where if she didn't cut Ketlen Vieira and Ketlen's bleeding everywhere from taking her back, it probably wasn't going to go her way, right? She got out grappled in that one. And Ketlen Vieira is painfully non-aggressive. She doesn't want to hurt anybody. She apologizes to Miesha Tate after she beats her ass for 5 rounds. It's that is who she is at her core. She doesn't want to hurt nobody. So I feel like that is different than Miesha Tate, who in her last fight was sadistically beating up this woman who's, ready to go on to retirement. And then she gets the finish. And I think Miesha is happy to try and do that exact same thing here. I think she has the capability to wear her down over time. At 38, is it feeling a little sketchy against a 35-year-old? A little. I hope some Yana money comes in. That would be nice. To get me to an even money or, something. But if I have to take a small chalk price, I might just do that because I think Miesha gets the job done.
I'm with you, Liam. And honestly, I think she probably gets it done inside the distance as well. I don't think that she's going to lay on her back and let herself get punched in the face like that if she gets back control. I kind of like the sub. We'll see what these numbers drop when they do come out. But Miesha, in her old age, has found ways to finish fights more often than not. So I do think that we're going to look for the grappling here. Minus 135. It looks like that number's going down ever so slightly. I think she was minus 142 when I looked earlier in the week. Yesterday. So
keep it coming. Keep it coming. Let's get plus 100.
Exactly. Fade cupcake for old time's sake, and bring that number down to pick them for me, and we'll jump in at that point. Let's see. Shedeur Sanders in the chat, apparently. You think JJ McCarthy is going to get you to the top? You just made the list. What's up, Shedeur? Sorry about the 5th round there, buddy. Yeah, JJ McCarthy is going to be whooping the asses of the NFC North for generations to come, my friend. We have the team right now. Vikings have been counted out for far too long, and it all comes together this year. You wait, baby. Vikings to win the NFC is going to hit like crack. We're plus money as always. Always underestimated, never respected. Let's go. All right, guys, real quick, shout out Spectation Sports. If you guys haven't checked out Spectation Sports, you really are missing out, you guys. They had a doubleheader this past weekend, which was absolutely phenomenal. They're signing more and more and more organizations. It's getting good around here. The next couple of shows coming up on May 2nd. We've got FAC 29 on May 3rd. We've got BTC Battle for the Border 28. So you've got back-to-back nights of MMA action. So if you're looking for more MMA fights just to watch, if you're researching for Dana White's Contender Series, either way, if you want to gamble, because now they've got a deal where they've got odds up for most of these fights, Spectation Sports is an awesome subscription to have. It serves multiple purposes for you there, you guys, that way. Promo code DIEHARD will get you 20% off your subscription when you sign up. Hit the link in the description below. And I have to just shout out real quick, you guys. If you don't know Tommy McMillan, he fought at Spectation Sports event this past weekend. He's another Arizona boy. He's training under Tim Welsh with Sean O'Malley. Kind of gives O'Malley vibes a little bit with the way he's a bit full of himself. Goes by Tommy Guns. Watch this kid. Tommy McMillan, I believe, is a potential stud, another potential star out of that same gym. You're going to see him on Dana White's Contender Series sooner than later, and you're going to see him in the UFC sooner than later. Circle that name. I promise you, you guys. But jump in there on Spectation Sports. The only way you're going to find out about some of these guys is through Spectation Sports. Last week, we had Gage Young that was a Spectation athlete. You had Torrance Finney, who is a Spectation athlete. A little sketchy, but Malcolm Wellmaker, they co-produced one of his shows, so they're trying to kind of claim him a little bit as well. So there, you got some names out there. They're starting to build up a roster, making it to the UFC. So good time to jump on and get included. Iceland Farts late to the show. Go back to the start of the show, my friend. It's not worthy of what I did to start the night to recap it here. So just time skip yourself back there after we're done breaking it all down, and you can go ahead and dive in and enjoy that for me there. Shout out Tim, another one of the sharpest sons of bitches around, co-host of Narcos Lambo Plays podcast on Friday. Love you guys. Saying diehard Steelers fan, but Tim, we're fighting now. 3rd or 4th for the NFC North. How dare you? Green Bay Paper Tigers. The Lions still have the things under wraps, but let's not kid ourselves about the Bears. They will always be the Bears, okay? I don't care that they got a shiny new quarterback, all right? The Vikings are taking over, Timmy. Come on now. Come on. All right, guys. Next fight up. You've got Jeremy Stephens, and he's taking on Mason Jones. Another weird one, Liam. This is the night of very strange UFC fights. You've got a guy who retired, went to the PFL, retired again, went to BKFC, and now he's back in the UFC for some odd reason. Why that is, I couldn't tell you. And then you've got Mason Jones.
I can tell you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Please do. And then you've got Mason Jones, who is maybe the only fighter who I can think of. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you can find somebody else out there, if you can think of somebody, correct me. But I think he's the only fighter that is volunteered to go back to the regional scene to get some more licks in, to get some more experience in, because he himself felt he wasn't ready for the UFC level. And he's now circled his way back around. He circled the wagons. He is back in the UFC, and he's ready to assault this division. So a very, very intriguing fight here from that perspective. Jeremy Stephens did not leave the UFC on good terms, Liam. Back in his heyday, he was maybe the hardest hitter in the division. Like, this guy KO'd Josh Emmett dead. Like, that's not
when
a
he
thing.
Knocks people out, they don't fucking move.
Exactly. I mean, they crumple and they look like Yamcha from Dragon Ball Z laying in the hole. Like, this guy has ridiculous, ungodly power. I have bet on him in BKFC quite a bit since he switched over there, because that is the place for him, right? You don't have to worry about the takedowns. You just get to bang it out. His chin is still intact enough. That's the place. So why he's back, I don't get it. 38 years old, living the best life over in BKFC. Didn't get the McGregor fight, but it is what it is. He can beat bums up and get paid over there. I don't see why he's coming back. 65% takedown defense, which, Liam, for me, I like fighters when they've got 70% takedown defense or higher. That's kind of the number. That's the bar for me, that I'm like, if I can trust you to shuck a takedown and keep the fight standing, I want that number to be 70 or up. 65, we're getting to that hairy situation where you might have a path to victory with that grappling more often than not, in my opinion. Mason Jones, 30 years old, in his prime, 15-2. Like I mentioned, he went back to Cage Warriors. He went 4-0 in Cage Warriors, with 3 of those coming by finish against decent competition as well. I will say, a lot of these guys go back to their home. They go back to the regionals and they get bums, and then they try to get a second call up to the UFC. He fought some decent competition before coming back. I went back and I watched some of the tape in those fights, Liam, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's changed at all. Like, he comes forward and he still welcomes a brawl. He's a guy whose best edge, in my opinion, is his grappling, and he still comes forward face first. Very hittable, very counterable. He wings hooks in the pocket and he looks to crack people and then bully his way into range and grab onto you and drag you to the mat. But if you crack him, his first instinct is throw. Like, if you hurt this guy, his first instinct is not, let me grab your leg and drag you to the ground, take your back. His first instinct is, let me get it back. And that's dangerous, because we've seen his chin has faltered a couple times already at this level. Mason Jones is a guy that I'm very, very concerned with. The last time we saw him at the UFC level, again, very high level, right? Ludovic Klein is a guy that's turned out to be a bit of a beast, but he was getting floored by that guy left and right, just eating big power shots. Jeremy Stephens is old. You can take Jeremy Stephens down, but you don't want to run face first into a Jeremy Stephens right hook, Liam. So this is a fight that is hands off. For me, I can't bet this one because Mason Jones is minus 575. Should this be a second coming of Mason Jones? Should this be his coming out party? Get a big old name, a notable name, a legend on his resume? Yeah, that's what this is. And he probably wins, guys. But this is just like the Jacqueline-Amorim fight for me last week, where I'm like, I can see the cracks in the armor enough that I'm not losing a parlay because the minus 600 favorite goes down for the exact reason that we were always worried about him. I'm not betting Jeremy Stephens. I'm not even saying Jeremy Stephens is going to knock him out, Liam, but I'm saying there's a danger there. There's a threat there. And Mason Jones has got to prove to me that he's back and he's better before I'm willing to lay that kind of a price tag on him. So I'll pick him to win. But I don't think he's getting my money this week.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. This is another fight where I'm going to be looking at some prop numbers. Truthfully, this is an IQ test in some ways for Mason Jones. Like, he has a background in judo. He has a background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's a bigger guy a little bit naturally. And I think those things should be enough when you're 8 years younger and haven't given a lot of yourself to the game already. I think that should be the kind of fight that you win. Now, when you look at what VB just said in the chat, that is exactly what I think is going to happen. Mateusz Gamrot, good grappler. How many guys is he submitting in the UFC? Right? It's not really happening all that much. He gets on top instantly, grabs the Kimura, puts it behind his back, and it was a wrap, right? If you have really good grappling, you're very assertive, you know what you're doing, you know where you want to be, you can get this guy to the ground and put him away. We've even seen that, I believe, in the PFL, if my memory serves. So a guy that I respect, no doubt about it, in Jeremy Stephens, a guy that deserves our respect. I believe that this is the UFC saying, hey, you're a guy that spent a lot of time, blood, effort in this company. You put a lot of good knockouts together. We didn't have the greatest thing when you pushed what's his name and made us pay for a lot of neck surgery and fucking shit for Drakkar Close. If you remember that, they're about to fight. And if you ever notice, Jeremy Stephens will always say how many weigh-ins he is a veteran of, because he went to the weigh-in, pushed that dude, and then they couldn't fight. But in any case, you look at this guy.
Liam,
he has
that
given
fight brings back
please
terrible memories. Because I rarely do I actually have insider information, Liam. Like, it almost never happens, right? Like, I bring people like you on the show, people who are better at gambling than me, people who are smarter at me, people who know people. You come on my show for a little bit of fun and exposure, right? I'm not usually the guy breaking news. I knew there was a problem with the durability of Drakkar Klose going into that fight, and Jeremy Stephens by knockout would have fed my family for years to come. We were going to put an unhealthy amount of money on it, and the fight getting canceled because of a shove at face-offs, I will never forget that moment, and Jeremy Stephens will be on my shit list forever for costing me that moment, because Drakkar Klose took the time off. You know, happy for him, happy for his health. He took the time off that he needed, and he came back a different man. But that Saturday, it was going to be a real problem for him stepping in the cage, and it cost me money. Sorry for the interruption, my friend. Go ahead.
Never a worry, my man. My point being is just, I look at a guy like Mason Jones, and he's got more wins by knockout than submission. But why would you go trade with Jeremy Stephens, who spent his life trying to knock people out on the feet, who at 145, 155, he's dangerous. I think Mason is going to finish him. I think they're going to send off Jeremy Stephens with a nice retirement package. He was born, raised in Des Moines, Iowa. He is a tough son of a bitch from Iowa that made a living throwing hands with people. He's got a negative record in the UFC at the best of times. His best weight class, 145 pounds. The guy could knock out contenders at 145. But the truth is, I think it was like 10, 12 years ago, Cub Swanson's dancing around this guy. Too fast, too smooth. Knew what he was doing too much. Fun fight. They banged it out a little bit. But at the end of the day, Cub was 10 levels ahead of him at that point. And it's like, Jeremy just was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That knockout of Josh Emmett is like, it'll live in infamy. He almost blew it. He almost kneed that guy in the head while he was on the ground. It's like, Jeremy is all violence team in UFC history. Knocked out RDA. Put the respect on his name. Every dog has their day. 30 versus 38. How did it work out for Anthony Smith? Oof. It didn't work out very well, right? And terribly. If Ming Yang Zhang did submissions, he'd have probably just closed it up that way. Instead, he hit him to the back of the head like 600 times. I don't know what the referee was looking at there either, but weird stoppage. If you go back and rewatch that footage, you're like, he hit him in the back of the head like 11 times in a row before they stopped it. But in any case, Ming Yang Zhang just got on top, banged him out. Maybe Mason Jones does something like that. Just take him down, beat him up. But I don't think Jeremy can stop the takedowns. And right, that's why he stopped doing MMA. He was like, fuck all this takedown shit. Let's go out there and just bang. I think he is a UFC fighter at heart. I think he wanted to say, he said, hey, you're going back to my hometown. Give me one, and then I'll fucking piss off. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, very interesting. And a couple people in the chat saying that Jeremy Stephens is from Des Moines. I mean, if they're looking to do this UFC veteran thing where they're, you know, circling the boats and they're bringing people back home and they're honoring them for one last fight, like, you guys know it doesn't take much to talk me into a retirement fade, right? There's no such thing as a happy ending in MMA. These guys are brought in to get sent out on their shields. That's just how it goes. They just brought in Diego
Lawler. Only one. He's just Robbie Lawler.
He is the exception to the rule, Liam. God love Robbie Lawler. Don't come back, Robbie. You're the one and only one to do it. Don't do it to us. I don't want to see that man broken and bloody on his way out. He did it the right way. They tried to kill Diego Sanchez in his backyard, Liam. I personally witnessed the rise of Yair Rodriguez, and they wheeled BJ Penn into the arena in a wheelchair for him to get head kicked here in Arizona because it was the closest thing they had to Mexico for that weekend. And watched the guy die on national television. I was there in person to watch that happen. That's what they do. These legends get brought back around and they get massacred right in front of their home crowds. So yeah, like I said, it is favorite or pass, and you guys, God bless you, you've got way more confidence in it than I do, just because I've still got a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to this kid. I had a parlay with Mason Jones the night he fought Luke Dovit Klein. So I was a believer. I've been burned, and that's probably some of the reason for me second guessing here just a little bit. Dog's got an opinion too on this one, apparently. Sorry about that, guys, if you can hear that. Question here from Mac Thriller, though. Liam from the O?
No, but I went to school out there. I got my Beat the Street Cleveland, threads on today, repping a little bit. We've got Iowa. It's like a wrestling stronghold. I was like, we need a wrestling t-shirt today. Simply no other way. So shout out to the great state of Iowa, putting out a lot of tough wrestlers, and the world needs more farmers. So shout out to Iowa.
There you go. You love to see it. All right, guys, next up, you've got Cameron Smotherman, and he's taking on Siri City. Another relative newcomers fight here in this spot, Liam. Cameron Smotherman is a guy that I couldn't remember. I remember the name. You know, you can't forget Smotherman, right? That one sticks out a little bit. But I was like, why do I not have any idea what this guy does. Had to go back, rerun the tape. He's 27 years old. He wades in very heavy on his feet, man. Very plodding forward pressure, looping punches, rolling hooks. He likes to throw in like 2 and 3 punch combos. He likes to go to the body and then to the head. His whole game plan is like walk you back to the fence and then try and roast you and then roll up and hit you in the head, crack you when your back's up against the fence. He lost on Dana White's Contender Series to Grigoriou, Champus Grigoriou, if you guys remember that name. And then he filled in on short notice against Jake Hadley, and that's the one. He got his UFC debut. He got his UFC win over Hadley, who is now twistering people over in the PFL. So decent striking, right? Decent striking. We can say that enough about him. If you can box up a guy like Hadley, you're okay. Beyond that, though, I'm not sure what he does. So just a little too low on the spectrum for me as far as experience, as far as times that I viewed this kid. I'm not overly comfortable working with him from a gambling perspective. I did note that he went out to Lobo Gym for this camp, and he got some work with Diego Lopez out there, which a lot of people are doing, and a lot of people are seeing some benefits of. So maybe he's doing the right thing, taking his career seriously, getting this big step up, training with the right people. You love to see it. Series City 11-2, 28 years old. He is 1-1 off Dana White's Contender Series, both fights by split decision. So he could be 2-0. He could be 0-2. Like, that's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. Very tall, very long. He likes to get into banger fights, Liam. He likes to come forward. He likes to slug it out. He's a bit hittable. He took some huge shots in his last fight from Garrett Armfield, and his chin checked out pretty well. So the durability is good to go. Definitely willing to throw down when his opponent wants to have that kind of a fight. I like his step in knees. He mixes in takedowns, but I don't like how he kind of shoots from like way outside. It's almost not desperate, but like he'll try to like barrel you over from way too far away. Doesn't set it up overly well. He scrambled well against Armfield, and he does have a good section of, geez, that's the wrong word. He's got a good selection of front chokes. He likes to attack front chokes and stuff in the scrambles and the grappling. You got to watch out for this kid's guillotine. He's got those long, lanky arms, the Ezekiel choke, or not the Ezekiel, sorry, geez, why I'm messing up all my submission names today. Anyway, front chokes. Look out for front chokes. Long arm, front choke. This kid is 2 inches taller than Cameron Smotherman. He will have a 3-inch reach advantage over Cameron Smotherman. And it's a studied fight for me, Liam. It's a sit back and watch fight for me. I kind of lean towards Series City. He's a -140 favorite at this point, +120 to come back on Cameron Smotherman. But this is the kind of fight exactly that I'm trying to steer clear of right now, because I used to just dive face first into these and assume I'm going to be right. And it's a close line, so close enough. How wrong could you be? You'd be surprised how many coin flips I've lost recently. So I'm not flipping coins that I don't need to flip anymore, you guys. This one is a sit back and take notes kind of fight for me. I will say Series City, I think, gets the better of it, but we'll see. I have no idea. The ceiling on these guys could be very high, could be very low. We'll find out. What do you make of this fight, Liam?
One thing I always believe in, and I'll tell you guys, when I've done like more research, less research, a lot of the fights earlier on the card, I've done a decent amount of research on, just because that's the way I structured my research this week. When I looked at this fight, right, like I haven't gotten the tape yet. I think Cam Smotherman is the side, like clearly coming into this one. First of all, let's talk about the quality of wins. Cam Smotherman win over Jake Hadley, aging well, right? Like guy goes to PFL, puts on a hell of a performance in my view. I was really impressed by the Jake Hadley that showed up there. On the other side, right? You look at Jake Hadley, what did he produce in the UFC? He was 3-4. He got hard matchmaking because he was a dickhead the first time he was there. It's like, it just happens sometimes. So I look at it, I'm like, okay, I see, my guy, JB in the chat, he had Cam Smotherman against Jake Hadley. I was kind of surprised. I was like, is he really that good? Like, I don't know if his chin's all there. And it checked out, right? Everything worked fine. The loss to Charlampos Grigoriou is a bad look. But if they ran that back right now, I think Cam Smotherman would win that fight. That's my sincere belief. Like, Charlampos stormed the gates, got after him. I think his chin is a little bit suspect. I think that's the worst part of his game, Cam Smotherman. He's gotten a couple of losses by knockout. He's gotten chin checked a couple of times. But aside from that, I think that the guy's not a bad fighter. And a win over Jake Hadley, solid. Win over Mando Gutierrez, solid. Like, you go look at the guys Mando's lost to, every one of them, Contender Series, UFC veterans, every one of them. So it's like, is Mando a bad fighter? He's 11-3 as a pro. He's probably knocking on the door of another big opportunity. So I just say to myself, like, this guy, Cam Smotherman, been through the fire, been through the ringer. He's won some, he's lost some. Then you look at the other side here, Serhiy City. You can make a credible case, in my humble opinion, that this guy hasn't won a fight at this level yet. He goes out there against Ramon Taveras. Dana White and crew are so shocked by the stoppage that they are like, no, hold on. Like, we're literally doing this again. Like, hey, congrats, kid. You got it. The referee made such a mistake. We're running this again in the UFC because we can't not give you a contract. You knocked him out in the first round. Like, take that. We're giving him a contract too. And then Ramon Taveras goes and gets one back on him, right? So then you look, all right, he maybe didn't beat Ramon Taveras. Then you look at Mateo Vogel, a guy that just lost to Timothy Kawamba. Close fight. Timothy Kawamba 1-2 in the UFC, finally broke through, got a win. It's like, so where are these guys? I don't know. Like, they're still proving themselves, whether they're even UFC level or not, some of these guys. Garrett Armfield, a guy who's clinging to the UFC job. I like Garrett. I bet on him in that fight. Frankly, I thought he clearly won that fight. It didn't go his way, right? He gets 4 takedowns to 0, I think it was. If I'm wrong, it was 4-1. It's like he's doing more. He's landing more. He hurts him more. It's like, okay, he didn't win the fight. Okay, happens. But you look back, Garrett Armfield's 2-3 in the UFC. Garrett Armfield's not blowing the doors off anybody. He's potentially 1 loss away from getting cut. It's like, that's where we're at with these guys. So Cam Smotherman comes in, gets a solid win, boots the other guy from the UFC, takes his spot. And now we've got this guy, Serhiy Sidey, who maybe even shouldn't be in the UFC, right? And like, I don't think he's a bad fighter. Like, I think Serhiy Sidey's a fine guy. He's got decent skills, but it's a prove-it spot for me. It's not a 60% against some guy that, unless Serhiy Sidey chin checks him, I think it's going to be a very honest fight. And like, I don't know that he has grappling upside. It might be the opposite, right? Like, Cam Smotherman might be able to wrestle this guy a little bit, take him down, put him on his butt. Because, by the way, he's very tall. Tall, long, rangy guys like that was one of the problems that they run into. Guys that are a little bit lower, they grab a hold of you, put you on your butt. And, like, could definitely see that happening. Serhiy Sidey's getting taken down over and over by Armfield. Armfield, not a bad wrestler, known for his boxing, known for his hands. He's taking him down multiple times, getting some control. It's like, can we not see that from Smotherman? Can he not hurt him on the field? I think Cam could do either of those things. So I think it's an honest fight, man. I think, like, if this was -110 either way, I'd stay away. But plus money on one side, I'd probably be interested in Smotherman, if anything.
Okay. All right. We are leaning slightly differently on this one. Not sure how strong my take is. So if Liam's convinced you guys, then maybe roll with that, because I'm not feeling this one, Liam. I'm not feeling this one. We'll go ahead and we'll
check back in with me after I tape it. If I see
Smotherman.
some things where I'm like, oh, I can't do it. But right now, that's where I'm leaning, man. If I had to click, it's a dog or pass.
Fair enough, man. Maybe Cameron Smotherman is that kid. You know, maybe he is. We'll see what happens. Shout out Razor Sharp. What's going on, buddy? Appreciate you for the donation. Thank you, my friend. Another one of the sharpest individuals you guys will ever hear about. And again, the name Razor Sharp, that's the name he goes by, but he's legitimately one of the sharpest people I have ever met, you guys. He gives out a lot of action for free when people support him online, which is great. But if you're looking for baseball, basketball, any of those other sports, Razor is the guy. You know, he does sell picks, and he's very good at it. He's one of the few people that you'll see that does regular recaps, and he very regularly wins people money. He has always made me money, and that's why he's been a very, very good friend and business partner. So shout out, my friend. Thank you for being here and watching. Appreciate the donation from you as well. You guys definitely should take a look. The only problem, Liam, with my guy Razor Sharp Picks is he's a Packers fan. So, I mean, you just gotta kind of, you don't like. That's the only, you just got to bite the bullet sometimes with these guys. You know, he's an okay dude. He's the best Packers fan I know. We'll put it that way. All right, guys, let's get moving. Next fight up, we've got Michael Johnson, and he's taking on Daniel Marcos, which I'm loving. Daniel Marcos's tap.
You just hit us with a Michael Johnson. I think you meant Montel Jackson, my brother.
Montel Jackson. I apologize, you guys. My bad. Montel Quick Jackson. Daniel Marcos. Montel Jackson is such a weird fighter to me, Liam. 14-2, 33 years old. I don't know if he had injury issues or if he wasn't taking it seriously or if he had second thoughts. I mean, he was one of these guys that was like circled as a prospect. The UFC really felt like they had something in this kid, but he took the long road. Like they rushed him a little bit early, you know, off Dana White's Contender Series. They gave him freaking Ricky Simone, right? So he got thrown in the deep end and then took a back seat. But it was like the slow burn after that. He got Jesse Strader, he got JP Buys, he got Julio Arce, old man Ronnie Yaya, and then he's got all these canceled fights. Like couldn't get a fight, disappears for a year at a time. Like I really kind of thought he was going to be a busted prospect that just kind of fought people at a low level, and then every time he stepped up in class, he wouldn't be able to hang, right? And then he one punches Damon Blackshear. And I mean literally the first punch thrown of the fight. It was incredible. His 1-2 down the pipe is incredibly fast, and he is deadly, Liam. This guy has huge hands. He is very fast. Those hands are very accurate, and he houses a lot of power in those hands. He's also a half-decent grappler. There's not a lot to complain about with Montel Jackson, except that it looks like the guys that have given him problems so far in his career are these relentless wrestler types. If you can take him down and you can keep taking him down and you can just hang on him, Ricky Simone, Brett Johns, that's the game plan. That's the style. And I thought Damon Blackshear was going to be a guy that could get away with that, but he ran face first into that giant fist like we talked about. So he skips over that hurdle, and now we're back to striking. Daniel Marcos, 17-0, undefeated, 32 years old. I've talked about this guy a lot recently, Liam, and even when we're like breaking down other people's fights and stuff like that, we always find our way back to Daniel Marcos because he's been the opponent of a lot of these guys. I mentioned him when we talked about John Castaneda this past week. What's he got to do to get some respect? Like, this guy is 17-0. This guy is undefeated, and he's always even or plus money. It's so strange to me. And then he goes out there as he finally gets some respect against Adrian Yanez, goes out there as a decent sized favorite and ends up in a split decision, which is like, oh, okay. Like, there's maybe a little chink in the armor there. And you run back that John Castaneda fight, and he's getting tired in the third round of that fight. He's trying to survive in round 3 against John Castaneda. I've always praised Daniel Marcos for his shot selection. Liam, I like his style of striking. He kind of pot shots, right? It seems like a low volume style, but he keeps his activity high enough that even though he's not throwing combos necessarily, he keeps a high work rate. So it's always got his opponent on the back foot. It's always, he's always got some aggression. He's always throwing something out there for you to think about. But because of that, he does get countered. You watch back the fight, like I mentioned with John Castaneda, and he's taken some shots in that fight, Liam. Like, he's getting tagged up a decent bit in that fight. You don't want to see that if you're going to be fighting Montel Jackson. I mean, it seems like Montel Jackson is a little late to the dance, but I think this is a fight that he should be able to win. I do have my questions about Jackson, and I think it's disrespectful that Marcos finds himself plus 170 again, especially when you get to the point of being 17-0, even at the UFC level. But this does seem to be a step up in competition. This is a step up in caliber, physically speaking, at least, the opponents that he's been, dealing with so far in the UFC. I think the reach of Jackson is going to cause him a problem, and I think that lack of defense is going to cause him a problem. So I kind of like Montel Jackson here.
We couldn't agree more. I'll tell you the truth, man. Another guy who's had a pretty fortunate run out in the UFC is Daniel Marcos. No disrespect to the man, right? Goes out there and gets wins. At a certain point, you just have to respect winners, right? And Ian Gary, I've tried to tell people the same thing. Like, yeah, you don't have to like him. You don't have to be a big fan of him. Don't keep betting against him. He's going to keep winning fights against high-quality guys, And I think that when you look at Daniel Marcos, here's the difference for me. Ian Gary was taking commensurate steps up in competition each and every time. John Castaneda is 4-4 in the UFC. Adrian Yana is 6-3 in the UFC. To be honest with you, had soft matchmaking early on. He's had much tougher matchmaking recently. That's when the losses started to happen, right? You look at the Arichi Lang fight. He was winning that fight, no doubt about it. Arichi Lang's like 3-4 in the UFC. Davey Grant, I don't think he won that fight. Personally, if I'm scoring the fight, he lost that fight. Split decision. A lot of people agreed. Didn't go his way. Okay, fair play. I think that his path to winning this fight is to out-hustle Montel Jackson to a close decision. But when I look at Montel Jackson, I want to fade with guys that can really wrestle and grapple because that's where he's lost, right? It's like when you take him down, make him work. I mean, even JP Buys was able to get on his back at one point. Like, yeah, you could get creative and try and grapple this guy. On the feet, he's huge. He hits like a truck, and I don't think he's afraid to get hit either. So I just kind of think Montel Jackson is a hard matchup for Marcos. I think Marcos could win a decision, like I mentioned. Maybe he could clip him, but like for me, I feel like Montel Jackson, a little bit more durable, more proven, fought better guys at a higher level for a longer time. And again, it's like recently he hasn't fought the highest level guys. They were building him back up. They were getting his confidence back. They're trying to get him on track because they see something in him. Marcos, maybe they do, right? He's an undefeated guy, still pushing him out there. But for me, I think Marcos is a guy that needs to fight close a lot of times to win. And I think on the other side, Montel Jackson against Damon Blackshear, just thanks for playing, buddy. Sit down. By the way, JP Buys got knocked down like 4 or 5 times in that fight. It's like Montel Jackson, finishing instincts, not always there. Landing huge shots that hurt people and scramble their brain, he does it almost every time.
Yeah, we're really going to test the durability of Daniel Marcos in this fight, I think. So yeah, man, I'm with you, and I do think that you're correct. I think they rebuilt Montel Jackson to some extent, and this is kind of the payoff. I mean, I feel like this might be one of those fights, Liam, where the UFC doesn't care, because on one side you've got a Dana White's Contender Series fighter who could legitimately be something, and on the other side you've got this 17-0 kid that just keeps winning. Who wins? Who do they push? Whoever gets their hand raised. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's an angle on this fight, because whichever guy wins, it'll be the biggest win on their run. So I'm not, getting too tinfoil capped here on this one. I just think Montel Jackson's going to hit harder and probably should be the one to go ahead and get his hand raised at the end of it. All right, guys, we've got just a couple more fights. Do me a favor, if you have not already, please smash that like button for me. We've got over 500 of you live hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate each and every one of you in the chat. Some absolute monsters, heavy hitters. Of course, we've got the veterans. We've got you guys that are in here every single week breaking down these fights with me. So from the bottom of my heart, definitely appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. But please hit the like button, get subscribed if you haven't, share the show out, help us out, blast that algorithm. Let's go. Next up, we've got Santiago Ponzinibbio and Daniel Rodriguez. Winner gets a new hip. Liam, we've got a couple of 38-year-old men throwing down in the center of the cage here on Saturday. And you know what? Last week, Liam, I had one of the biggest moments of my professional betting career last week. There were two guys in the middle of the cage who I could not get right. Two of them. And they fought each other, and that meant that no matter what I did, I was, of course, going to have the wrong prediction, because there's just those fighters you can't ever see straight on. Nicholas Dalby and Randy Brown, for the life of me, can't pick either of their fights correctly. I got a win last week, Liam. I picked Randy Brown, and I got a win. I even bet it, and I got paid. So that felt really damn good. But I'm back-to-back in that position. I don't know if I can do it again, Liam. I don't know if I trust myself to go 2-0 in a bad situation here. Santiago Ponzinibbio and Daniel Rodriguez are guys that I have struggled with getting correct. D-Rod, most specifically. I actually thought he was live in a couple of his fights recently. Not the Kelvin Gastelum one, but you know what? Actually, I think I might have bet Neil Magny against him. But the Jingliang Li one was one that caught me off guard. The Alex Morono one, I think I finally had given up actually betting on him or against him, but I picked the wrong way on that one. The Kevin Lee fight back in the day, I thought Kevin was going to smoke him. I mean, like, I just zig when I should be zagging every single time on Daniel Rodriguez. I'm not sure how into it D-Rod is these days. I think he's really getting towards the end of his run here. The guy is an all-time violence type of fighter. He just comes forward, he throws, he shows up workmanlike. You know what you're going to get out of him. You're not going to see anything different or special. And if that's enough, that's enough, I feel like. So I'm not sure we're going to see anything new or different from Daniel Rodriguez in this fight. And that kind of leads me towards Santiago Ponzinibbio. Even though he's kind of doing the same thing, I feel like Santiago still has that fire in his soul. The problem is I feel like he's taken more damage. Like, I feel like there's more miles on Santiago Ponzinibbio. So even though he wants it more, even though he might have more fire and he's coming out looking for big power shots, I also feel like he might just be damaged goods at this point. I got to go back and rewatch the Carlston Harris fight. I did pick him in that fight, and he got the finish there on that one. I'll admit to you guys, this is the fight on the card that I had to skip as far as the tape study goes. So I'm not as sharp as I normally would be on these two particular fighters, because the time just did not allow for me this week to get to this one. So Liam, I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna take a big old pass on this one, because you've got a couple of old guys that are fighting for glory, and that is about it at this stage of their careers. It is a coin flip fight. I will lean with Santiago Ponzinibbio, but don't trust it. Don't trust it at all.
I'll tell you what, Clint. Last week, I always try and evaluate my slate after the fact. And I told you, I beat a bunch of lines that I bet last week, so I was happy about that. But my biggest regret from last week, by far, was that I had a very strong read. You guys can go back and watch my breakdown that I did, where I talked about the Randy Brown and Nicholas Dalby fight. And all I talked about, the whole breakdown, is how the fight doesn't go the distance, being plus 180, made no fucking sense. I was just like, you have one guy in Randy Brown whose chin comes and goes. Like, some days it's there, some days it's not there. And then you have a guy in Nicholas Dalby who sprints forward into violence, and he's never been knocked out. That's called regression, baby. Shout out to Yanni the Greek. It's like, you cannot walk into big shots every time. He almost got finished by Bonfim, then came back to finish him. It's just a violent paced guy. So I'm like, plus 180, plus 200. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And then I never clicked it. And then it was an easy clicks. Bothered me. I think the exact same thing about this fight. Like, I think this is another fight where they look and they go, they've been to the decision sometimes. Like, I don't think one of these guys could take a good punch anymore, right? Frankly, D-Rod just kind of gave it up against Neil Magny. Like, Neil Magny's finishing instincts, not great, Chief. You look back, he's kind of just a little tired, fatigued, starts to give it up. Morono and him both look fat. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. These are UFC fighters. They show up. They do their job. It's hats off to them. Their body composition didn't look like athletes that night, right? Like, they looked like two guys that were like gym wars, like, hey, let's go out there and have some fun. It didn't look like two guys that were like prime of their career, taking it super serious on the hop. I used to see Daniel Rodriguez with Ian Gary. I was like, maybe it'll rub off. Like, maybe he'll go get some I don't think he's training with him now. I think he's at Extreme. I think he's smoking weed. I think he's going to Lakers games. Again, enjoy your life, bro. He's a fucking cool guy. But it's like Santiago Ponzinibbio was like this close to fighting for a world title, this close to being like, that's where he was. Then he had the disease. Then he had so he feels like his shit has all been like uncaptured, right? I think, honestly, Carlston Harris would knock out Daniel Rodriguez. Like, I truly have that gut feeling. So if that's the case, or he'd take him to the ground and submit him, do the same move Neil Magny did. Like, I don't think that fight would work out well for him either right now at the current stage of his career. Size, aggression. I don't think he'd like any of that. So Carlston can land some big shots. I think Daniel could land some big shots. Either guy could get finished here. They're both a little chinny. But I just think if you ask me, like, who is number one, better at their prime? Santiago Ponzinibbio. And number two, who will dig deeper if they need to? Santiago Ponzinibbio for me is both. So it's another dog or pass situation.
Okay. All right. Santiago Ponzinibbio is the slight favorite. So not dog or pass if you're looking at the Santiago Ponzinibbio side of things.
I thought he was plus 105. I must have misread that. Excuse me.
I mean,
well, then I will not be betting that. I'll be betting the fight not to go and hoping somebody dies.
There you go. I like it. Hey, nothing like, fighting and betting on a couple of old men to die in the center of a cage on a Saturday. My favorite pastime, baby. Let's go. All right, guys, moving along. Co-main event. You've got Reinier de Ridder taking on Bo Nickal. It is time, Liam. The UFC has decided that Bo Nickal's been warming the bench long enough. They've taken the slow route with this man. They've let him simmer. They've let him cook. And now it is time to let him cook if he is indeed capable of it. They're throwing him into what should be viewed as the deep end. You and I both know that Reinier de Ridder is very, very much underappreciated in the UFC. People watched his first fight and they were just absolutely convinced that he was going to be a bum for going life and death with Gerald Meerschaert. They lined him up against Kevin Holland, and I can't tell you how much shit I got for saying that he was going to win, and not only win, but submit Kevin Holland. Everyone was just shoveling money onto Kevin Holland that night. And you guys should wake up and consider Reinier de Ridder is a very, very big man at 185 pounds. He was fighting at 205 outside the UFC and decided to cut back down to what is his, natural weight class at the UFC level. He is a next level grappler. I mean, there's grapplers and there's grapplers. And you've got Reinier de Ridder, who is a wizard on the mat. Most of these guys simply cannot compare down there. His striking is serviceable. He's not a guy who I'm going to tell you is the best kickboxer in the entire world, but throughout his entire prolific MMA career, like, he knows what he's doing on the feet enough to get it to the ground. Now, he did get tagged and rocked a couple times by guys like Gerald Meerschaert, right? So it's a bit of a concern. The defense is a concern, but the chin checked out. He was able to take those shots and keep on coming. He was able to get the fight into a grappling realm where he wanted it to be. And here he is fighting Bo Nickal. Now, Bo Nickal, 7-0, 29 years old, in his prime, American top team, blue chip prospect, the world's greatest wrestler, right? The UFC has been waiting on this guy to turn that corner and really get in there and make waves for a long, long, long time. They gave him Cody Brundage, and it took him until round 2 to get Cody Brundage out of there, which in itself is questionable enough, in my opinion. Real fighters are icing Cody Brundage in round 1. But you're seeing the striking evolution of Bo Nickal his last couple of fights. He boxed up Paul Craig. That was a big, big surprise to a lot of people. He stood with Paul Craig for the entire fight. Now, Paul Craig, very loose, lots of kicks, not a great striker himself, spinning back fist every now and again, gets it bit in the ass. He's not a guy you want to write home about when it comes to the striking, but it was Bo Nickal's opportunity to show what he had learned and avoid the strong suit of Paul Craig, which is that deadly grappling submission offense game. The UFC is testing Bo Nickal here. Reinier de Ridder is Paul Craig +1. A little more durable, little more well-rounded, more dangerous grappler. Like, I just feel like he's +1 Paul Craig pretty much everywhere. The UFC is going, okay, you got past that test. Good job, kid. I don't know if you can box Reinier de Ridder for 15 minutes. You're going to have to mix it up. You're going to have to do more in this next fight to win this one, because Bo looked a little out of place still in that fight. He got it done. Boxing checked out. He was able to outpoint Paul Craig, but there were moments, Liam. There were moments. Some of the combos didn't quite land the way you wanted them to. There were a couple moments where he would sit back and he would take some pictures. You know, it's like, okay, I just did that. Yeah. Like, so still a little uncomfortable on the feet. So Reinier de Ridder is not a guy who should have this kind of a number next to his name against an untested fighter who still is not a well-rounded MMA fighter, in my opinion. +260 on Reinier de Ridder, -325 on Bo Nickal. The only issue for me, Liam, the only reason Reinier de Ridder is not my dog of the week, not the guy I'm just ride or die with this week because of all the disrespect, is one of the most basic things I can boil fights down to that seems to be okay more often than not is when you've got wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, the wrestler tends to win. If you've got a wrestler who has learned how to defend an armbar, you've got a wrestler who has learned how to defend a triangle choke, they get on top, you get on bottom, and the wrestler wins. That's just how it goes. It's a natural thing in MMA that the wrestler wants to be on top and the judges go, oh, that's the guy winning the fight. And I think that's what a lot of this might end up coming down to. If Bo Nickal gets in trouble, he will take Reinier down. And as long as he keeps his arms and limbs safe when he's on the mat, he can grind minutes on top of Reinier de Ridder. I think this is going to be a Bo Nickal decision win, Liam, which I'm hoping that prop bet is decently priced, because that I might get invested in. I don't know that Bo has the type of finishing capability that he's being kind of puffed up to have at this stage of his career. I think he's going to have to grind. He's going to have to stay safe. And it might even get hairy for him in a couple of positions here, because if it does get to the ground, Reiner's going to attack. So butthole pucker of the week, I'll say Bo Nickal wins a decision, passes the test, and is the guy everyone thinks he is, but he doesn't show out. He doesn't get a big TKO. He doesn't submit the jiu-jitsu ace. I'll say he greases one by.
Yeah, man. This is a tricky one for me. Definitely one I'm going to have to go back to the tape on. But like, here's the things I feel very confident saying about this fight. I think Reinier de Ridder is like still underrated in terms of his jiu-jitsu by like most people when they watch him, right? Because he goes out there, he beats Kevin Holland. First of all, guys, like go back and watch what Gunnar Nelson was not able to do with similar positions, right? Reinier de Ridder beat the shit out of Kevin Holland. I think people forget that part of the fight as well. Like they remember he got submitted. Hey, that happens every Kevin Holland fight. Dude, he beat the shit out of him. He was on top of him, posturing really well, right? Like not posturing like an MMA fighter, posturing like a grappler, way above him, hips way above. Kevin can't do anything to off-balance him. So now he's balanced, standing above him. Boom, boom, elbow. He's cutting Kevin. Kevin is not a guy that typically takes a ton of damage. He gets embarrassed in the wrestling and grappling sometimes, but he doesn't always take a lot of damage. And when he does, it's normally when he gets tired. This is in the first round. He just audited him on the ground, passing, pushing, doing anything he needed to on top of Kevin. And then eventually Kevin was like, yo, get this shit off me. Like he just let him push the leg through, comes up on Turtle, takes his back, and that's the end of the fight. And I think when you look at Reinier de Ridder, he's an excellent jiu-jitsu player. I'd say the best one that Bo Nickal has fought so far in MMA. On the other side of things, to your point, right? Paul Craig, what's his best chance to win? Mix it up in the jiu-jitsu. Wasn't able to do that, right? Bo was able to keep him at a distance, use his footwork. Honestly, pretty basic overhand, right? Shift off to the side. Like he didn't do much great sophistication on the feet, but I think he's athletic. I think he's fast. I think he's got decent footwork. And I think he's not afraid to get booed to just go out there and get a win. The other thing is he's in Iowa. And I'll just tell you guys, if this was a Iowa-Penn State match, he's getting booed out the building. Iowa likes wrestling. I would not be surprised if everybody's rallying behind Bo Nickal in wrestling country to see if he can go out there and get the win over this jiu-jitsu guy. But the truth is, man, I've watched grappling matches from this guy. Not just the MMA stuff that he did over in one. He grappled Andre Galvao. Some people don't know jiu-jitsu like that. It's all good. Andre Galvao is fucking world class. As good as it gets in jiu-jitsu. Reinier de Ridder was in a competitive match with him and started to pass his guard late. And I'm pretty sure they just went like, hey, it's a draw and nobody got submitted. I think they just moved on. Maybe they gave it to Andre on a decision. Right at the end of that, bro, Reinier de Ridder starts using that size, starts using that skill. He starts passing the guard of a very, very, very high-level grappler. And I think if Bo Nickal is forced to wrestle in this fight, things might go sideways for him, right? People talk about the Gordon and Ryan match. I watched that. I was there at the time. The rule set was basically like, this guy, like Gordon can't do shit unless he goes for a takedown. They just dance around each other for most of the match. Very little happens. And then Bo goes for a takedown and he instantly gets triangled. It's just like, that was kind of what the match was always going to be. I don't think he could do leg locks either. It was always going to be eventually Bo engages and then gets submitted. I've seen Bo go against black belts. It's not like he's incompetent. People will be foolish to think that. He's very competent. And a wrestler of that level can go and beat purple belts, brown belts right then because they know how to move. They know how to control somebody else's body. They're not an easy mark. But sometimes it's in those extended scrambles when you're trying to make decisions under fire. Maybe I got hurt. Now I'm trying to make a decision. I put my head in a wrestling spot and maybe it's a vulnerable jiu-jitsu spot. Those are the kind of things that I feel people maybe just don't give enough credit to. Reinier de Ridder. He's a big, awkward body. Gerald Meerschaert is a very proven grappler, extremely difficult to submit. Here's the other thing. What is the classic GM3 win condition? Round three submission. I'll wait for you to get tired, and then I'll get – dude, Gerald Meerschaert was ready to go into cardiac arrest, and it was from a grappling match. So he did get busted up a little bit on the feet towards the end. I don't think Reinier de Ridder wants to have a striking match that is clean with Bo Nickal at all. I think he will get schooled if that happens. But if he sprints forward, tries to make this an ugly fight where he's grabbing a hold of him and he's falling to his back and he's doing all this shit, I honestly think that is the kind of fight where he has a chance. So the line, it opened like plus 170. That for me is a little telling. Like, first of all, you've got a guy in Bo Nickal, like every fight, he's like minus 3,000, minus 2,000, minus 1,800. Now it's a real fight, right? Now it's lined like a real fight, a normal fight. And he's going to take steam. And I think I understand why. But I was there for the unders on the Borrego fight and these other guys, Donovan Beard and guys with all due respect that had nothing for him. And I just don't think this is that. Like, I think if they mix it up grappling, I think it's anybody's ball game, truly. So that's the way I see it, man. I respect Bo Nickal, but I also think that he might be due a slice of humble pie. When you look at some of the things, and again, this is my perception from his media stuff. Like, maybe he's the nicest guy ever in person. Everybody loves it. It's just like he comes off as a little bit arrogant, right? And the way that I think that he talked about the Paul Craig fight, I said at the time, I thought it was delusional, right? Where he was like, oh, it's the best performance. And I honestly believe if Paul Craig lands a couple of head strikes there, like throws 2-3 punches to the head, he could compete. Instead, he threw only body kicks and leg kicks, and like judges don't score that. But like Bo Nickal
wasn't he like yelling at the crowd for them booing him?
Like, what's that?
What wasn't he like yelling at the crowd for being booed?
I think he said something to them after.
I'm going off the top of my head. He's like chirping.
How about the Brundage fight where afterwards he's like 2 thumbs downing himself? It's like the guy has been okay in the UFC. I really respect his game. Like I've been a Bo Nickal truther from the beginning on Contender Series. I was like, guys, he's going to be the truth. Watch this space. Like he's for real. But then I'm just watching some of the footage in the UFC. Jamie Pickett stinks at this level. Not as a fight. At this level, he's not good. Bo is out there like blowing him. And then like, honestly, that head and arm choke, bro. What the fuck was that? Like, with all due respect, again, it's like, it's fine. It worked. But it's like, is that going to submit Reinier de Ridder? Fucking 0%. No, that would not. What at that grip sequence? No. I think Jamie Pickett eventually just was like, I'm sick of being in here. Get me out of here. I didn't even think it was the tightest choke I've ever seen. So again, just things where do I respect Bo? Yes. Do I think he's a better athlete? Yes. Do I think he should be a favorite? Yes. So it's a point where I'm like plus 250 on a guy who I just think if this is grappling, I think he competes. I think if you could fucking pass Galvao's guard, you could fucking pass Bo Nickal's guard. That's how I feel. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm interested as well, Liam. I really am, because I actually one of the big brain moves that I made with Bo Nickal was we cashed on round 2 Bo Nickal against Cody Brundage. Why? Because we knew he was not the sharp offensive juggernaut that the UFC tries to hype reel him to be. He's a wrestler. He's a control guy. If you don't just give up the sub immediately, he doesn't really know what to do next. So when he got on top of Brundage, look on the internet, guys. There's photos of Cody Brundage. He's like peeking out from underneath Bo's arm, like going 2-on baseball bat grip. And Bo just has nothing from that position for him. Like, if you're going to control one arm, he can't choke you. It is what it is. It took him to round 2 before Brundage gave up, and then he was able to get the stoppage then because he ran out of options. So if you're doing that against a guy like Cody Brundage, just kind of hanging on the guy. Like Reinier de Ridder's not going to just sit there and let you do that. He will look for sweeps. He will make you work. He will scramble. It's going to get interesting. So I can't wait for this fight, Liam. I can't wait. And the one final note that I want to leave with you guys on this one. What year is it? It's the year of the undefeated prospects losing their O's, Liam. The year of our Lord 2025. We have seen more undefeated prospects take that first L this year than any other year I've ever seen before, and we're only 4 months in. People made fun of me. I was talking about guys losing their O, and it was somebody in the chat was like, Clint going off on totally unrelated things that don't matter for this fight. Guess what happened? Marcin Tybura came in there and said, buddy, let me snatch that O. Mick Parkins is no longer undefeated. That's the fight we were talking about, and I got laughed at for it. I know they don't have anything to do with each other, Liam, but it's a legitimate trend that is happening right now. So if you guys think that, if you go out in there, you play roulette and it's black, 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 well, it's got to hit on red. Well, it's still 50-50 on red, baby. At the end of the day, it's a new spin of the ball every single time. Right now, undefeated fighters are getting checked. It's just a thing that's happening this year. So take that information and do with it what you will. Yes, Jeff, I agree with you that I think Mick Parkin probably deserved to win that fight, but at the end of the day, the curse is legitimate, right? He should have won the fight. He didn't. He lost his O for it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, guys. Main event of the evening. We got Cory Sandhagen taking on Deiveson, God of War, Figueiredo. You know what, Liam? I apologize. I'm going to let you take this one, and I will be right back, if you don't mind. I have to step away for 2 seconds here. Go ahead and get us started.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure, brother. Listen, when I look at this main event, price is a bit prohibitive, but I got to say, I also think that the right man is favored here in Cory Sandhagen. And I'll tell you my reasons why. When I look at this fight on paper, I see Cory Sandhagen. He's 33 years of age. He's taking on a 37-year-old. The best years of the career for Deiveson Figueiredo were spent at 125 pounds. And I think that people are comparing different versions of Petr Yan, truthfully. Like, I think Petr Yan, peak of his powers, title level, he was one guy. And I think he's seeing a slight fall off from that. He's still a great fighter, which is why he continues, to be a relevant guy. But I'm looking now and I'm saying to myself, okay, Cory's a guy that goes out there, can compete with almost anybody, loses to Umar. Umar was, again, like one round away from beating Merab, being a champion. So very, very quality fighter. I'm so sorry, my brother. I did have Merab plus 235. I can't give that back. I was very happy to be on that.
Liam.
I know, dude. I know you had the long-term shot. Hey, you never know, right? It's a fast-moving business. Sean O'Malley gets that. Everything could change in a heartbeat. But when I look at this,
that futures ticket sitting there uncashed until December 2025, I have to stare at it every single time I pull my account up. It's just like,
if it makes you feel better, I had White Sox over win total. I think it was last year when they had the literal historic worst record in MLB history. So don't worry, my man. I stared at that one for a long time too. I was like, that one hurts. That's pain. Just please close it out. They won't. But in any case, man, I look and I say, Cory, to me, a little bit faster, a little bit more smooth, a little bit more likely to get takedowns in my view. So could Deiveson get a guillotine? He's got a good one of those. Could he hurt him on the feet? He's got good punches. He's got good mechanics. But honestly, I don't think he's got the pace to keep up. I don't think he could keep this fight on the feet. If Cory wants it on the ground, I don't. Based on what Cory's shown us in the last iterations of his career, he's getting more aggressive with the wrestling. He's taking guys to the ground. He tore his bicep against Rob Font, controlled him for 19 and a half minutes, So I look at Cory as a guy been getting better, been improving his skills. And frankly, I think he hired a publicist and he's trying to make himself somebody that people care about, which he is self-aware enough to know no one cares. On the other side, Figgy, he's a cool guy, interesting character. Bro, there was a video he put out of him doing a cone exercise where they're throwing cones at him. Bro, he gets hit with every second cone. The guy's moving in half slow motion. Dude, I was like, that video equals Cory Sandhagen by flying knee knockout as far as I'm concerned. If you're moving that slow, avoiding these fucking cones, I'm scared for you. Seriously. And I think that 3 years ago, it's not that way. But everybody gets older, right? And I just think when you're a little bit older, when you're putting on more weight as well, something people don't think about, it's harder to move around more weight. Guys start to take a little bit less movement. They start to do a little bit. I just feel like he's going to be right there for Cory. And we've seen Cory go out there against world-class guys that were at one point in their career championship level and just knock him the fuck out. Like he did Frankie Edgar. Honestly, it was like one of the most brutal send-offs. I think they sent him out there to do that a couple more times, our guy Frankie. But you just look at this guy, Cory, sniper, but Marlon Moraes. He knew as soon as he landed, he spins, kicks him. He's like, your orbital's broke. He like says it to him. Cory's a sadistic guy, man. And some of his wins, I think he submitted Mario Bautista back in the day before anybody knew who that guy was. He's like one win away from a title opportunity. You just see this guy, Cory Sandhagen, paid his dues in the UFC. And I think it's time, as my guy Dan Levy would say, to drink the wine. I think he's going to go out there and knock out Deiveson Figueiredo.
Wow, knockout's a bold call, Liam. A bold call.
I'm a bold man. I thought Petr Yan was going to knock him out too, and I thought he did everything but. He's a tough bastard, man.
Yeah, he is. He's extremely tough. Old leather boot. I loved him and Moreno. My most profitable trilogy of fights of all time. I would watch those guys fight any day of the week. I love those guys. But I've got a really clear and good, clean vision of what Deiveson Figueiredo is capable of, Liam. And that just is so perfect because since he's moved up a weight class, that means he's in my division. That means he's a bantamweight from now on. And you guys know, I am your bantamweight king, ladies and gentlemen. I am the king of this weight class. I have the best results of anybody in this weight class. Nobody can get through me when it comes to bantamweight, okay? I have an unblemished record. It took split decisions and fluke injuries for me to be wrong. I own the bantamweight division, Liam. And this week, we have a bantamweight main event. So it is just on a silver platter for your boy to come out here and tell you exactly what you need to know. We're facing a minus 500 favorite here. Cory Sandhagen is just riding off into the sunset here. Minus 485, minus 500. The comeback on Deiveson Figueiredo plus 375. Ladies and gentlemen, I've told you in the past, the reason for the success that I have had in this weight class, Liam, it's because you bet the dog. When you get a weight class this stacked, everyone is swinging left and right on what they think of these fighters one fight at a time. You're only as good as your last result. And at the top 8 of bantamweight, these guys are all so fucking good. You cram them all together. It's minuscule little adjustments that separate them from each other. And when you get a bounce going your way, when you've got Merab at plus 225 over Petr Yan, and they don't realize how good Merab is. It took them 2-3 years to catch up on how good Merab is. Those are the swings that you take home and bag with you. Liam, you yourself, you cashed a Merab ticket against my boy Umar because guess what? Umar should have been minus 150 in that spot. Umar should have been minus 135 in that spot, not minus 300. You bet the dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a decree to make. Not this week. Cody is a legitimate bantamweight, and my weight class is being invaded by a short man who doesn't belong. Deiveson Figueiredo is too small for 135 pounds, Liam. He was this phenomenal, explosive striker. He was knocking people's heads around in his own weight class. He comes up to 135, and what does he do? He relies on taking people down. You've got the chinniest man in the division, Cody Garbrandt, and he has to grapple that man and get on top of him. He's relying on winning minutes with takedowns against a guy like Rob Font. He has to grapple and use his strength at this weight class because the striking is not as potent as it was in his lower weight class. And I'm glad you brought up the hilarious video of him eating discs to the face, trying to show how quick and mobile he is, because if anything, he is not quick and mobile these days anymore. He's turned into a tank. He is lumbering. He's built out of iron. I'm not sure what it's going to take to knock the guy out. Liam, I cashed a ticket on Brandon Moreno by KO to put icing on the cake of that trilogy. That was a godsend because Moreno had to punch him in the eyeball to get him to get TKO'd. It was not a legitimate knockout. You cannot sever this man from his consciousness. Maybe up a weight class against a guy like Cory Sandhagen, he can pull that off. Maybe so. I think this fight's probably going to go a bit long. I believe Deiveson Figueiredo will struggle with the takedowns, and I have talked mad shit on Cory Sandhagen over the last couple of years, Liam, but it was mostly because everyone was writing my boy Umar off. And I know who the one true king of this weight class is, and that is the future champion, Umar Nurmagomedov. Everyone was convinced that Cory Sandhagen was going to be the one to derail my boy, and they were just wrong. It's not because I've got a problem with Cory Sandhagen. It's because I know the truth. We will see the truth on Saturday, and the truth is that Cory Sandhagen is a legitimate bantamweight contender, and he's going to mop the floor with Deiveson Figueiredo. Ladies and gentlemen, your king has spoken. Thank you very much for attending my TED Talk. Liam, that is UFC Des Moines. Thank you so much for joining me to break down these fights here today, my man. It was an absolute blast. Thank you all for being in the chat with us to talk about these fights. I hope we gave you the information that you need so you can make good bets, so you can make some cash, and I hope we entertained you this evening as well. Liam, my friend, where can they support you? Where can they find more of your content? What have you got coming up? Let the people know the floor is yours, my friend.
Appreciate you very much, my brother. Shout out to the Wrestle Gang. We up in here, Iowa. Let them know we're still going to be repping win, lose, or draw for Bo Nickal. It's always wrestling season as far as I'm concerned. Now, what I want to say, you guys can find me everywhere at Liam Picks Fights. Talk about these fights each and every week on YouTube. You can find more of my work, Patreon, and everything like that if you'd like to support. I do in-depth write-ups, all sorts of shit. I do an article every week, every fight. I just want to say thank you all for the support. Thanks for supporting my guy, Clint. God bless. Good luck. And I hope that you guys all enjoy the fights.
You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. All right, guys, that is it for another Monday podcast in the books. Guys, get subscribed. The two of us are always putting out content every single week. So please, the best thing you can do to support us, obviously, is to hit the like button and get subscribed. It costs you absolutely nothing. To those of you legends who donated in the chat today, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate the hell out of all of you guys. I keep on telling people that this year has been one of trials, Liam, whether it's personal life trials, whether it's, your work trials, whether it's your bankroll issues, whether it's my dumb ass making bad bets and trying to stay afloat for the year. We're all going through stuff. 2025 has been a bit of an up and down bag for all of us. And I just want to remind you guys that everybody's dealing with it right now. Everybody's going through it right now. And you don't know what battles other people are facing on their day to day. So I just challenge you guys to go out there and make a positive impact on somebody. If somebody nips at you, don't immediately swing back. I know that's the attitude of everybody, especially on MMA Twitters. If somebody bites at you, you bite back immediately. I'm just saying, give a little grace. I promise you, if you guys start doing that, you'll find the other people in the world who also do that. That's how we built this community. That's how we built this chat, is we found the people who know the good people that they're looking for. So try not to be quick to judge. Try not to be quick to hate or anger. Go out there, be that positive force, surround yourself with good, positive people. It's going to benefit, and it'll come back on you in a good way, I promise. So I'm just going to leave you guys with that thought today. Always, later shows, we got Clint's Hot Props, which have the best thumbnails in the game, if I do say so myself, coming to you. The Total Takedown, of course, coming out later this week, in the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In show on Friday. Love you guys all so much, and I've got some sexy outro music for you as we bounce on out of here for the evening. Thank you again for joining me, Liam, you guys, and we will see you next time.
No, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go right now. This is wonderful. Oh, come dance with me, Mr. DeWitt.
Instead, I chose something different.
Hands up.
I chose the impossible. I chose.
Yeah, we rockin' on Rapture, we lit. Go faster, hit this. Hey, pastor, take this confession from messing with weapons. I'm stressing, I'm about to head to Rapture and start rapping. No capping, I got bodyguards and yes, they all packing. This shit is Rapture, I ain't abashed this shit, just like stature. If money really is the flag, then you know a nigga gotta go capture. Andrew Ryan fucking signed me, now my wallet looking shiny. Rapture with the records, I'm underwater breaking records. New money count new money, old money count big stacks. Outcast finna get that, run it up, flip backs. Niggas is living in Rapture, feelings come up like a bastard. All the dimension be shattered, feel like the Spider-Man actor, Miles Morales a bastard. Rapture, we lit, go faster, hit this. Hey pastor, take this confession from messing with weapons. I'm stressing, I'm about to head to Rapture and start rapping. No capping, I got bodyguards and yes, they all packing. Packing, yeah, they packing, oh, they pass her, shit, hey, I got fashion, yeah, I got confession, my lord, I think you testing me, but under the sea, Andrew Ryan, he said, I can make you fucking see, the truth, my nose gotta bleed, I be living in the booth, shit, living in rap shit, the only answer, strippers be dancers, songs running together, shit, I need an answer. Niggas be talking, shit, I just be walking. Action speaking louder than the words, popping the perks. I like a songbird, shit, songbird. Let me hear songbird. Baby girl, she my songbird. Listen, baby girl, take a hit. Baby girl, take a twist. She be